Peace and blessings, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Halftime Coach and Adjustment Show with my brother from another Philly halftime. I'm your co-host, Coach Ed Gladney of Coach Ed Gladney's Amazing World of Sports, and also on today's episode, welcoming aboard Coach Dante from the East Coast Gridiron programming. How's everybody doing today? How you doing, halftime?
I'm doing good. Doing
That's
good.
good.
Another day, just trying to relax from all my work.
Where the kids at?
One's sleeping and the other one's just running around somewhere.
What about Mrs. Halftime? She's somewhere
She
around
just
here.
probably she's always chasing the one kid down.
All right, all right, all right. And what about you, Coach Dante? How you doing, man?
I can't complain, man. Woke up another day, beautiful outside, you know, trying to stay busy. I slept in a little bit today. I had kidney stones like 2 weeks ago, so
Oh wow, man! I'm glad I'm taking you better. So glad that you're
yeah,
here, man. So
I've
I'm
had them like over 20 times, so it's
really.
hereditary. But yeah, it's hereditary for me. So,
Oh wow.
got to
Is it?
change up your diet and everything, and that's just hope for the
Mm,
best. So, but
Say no more, man. I'm fighting right now, changing my diet as a dude in his 50s, almost close to 60. So it's like
yeah,
sometimes it's like, man, I like the old stuff, man. I like the and the body's like,
I don't know if somebody told me I gotta try freaking change how I eat. I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
bro, man, it
and then
is.
having a wife makes it worse because she's like,
Mm,
"Hey, I'm gonna go out to go eat with the family," and it's like, I don't really want to go because I know y'all gonna be eating wings and pizza and everything. But now I'm gonna
mm,
stay here and cook my
mm.
basmati rice and my chicken, and I'm good for the night.
Yeah, and some days I'm like, but you know what? Some days I don't care, man. Some days I'm like, I'm making me a burger. I'm getting me a burger. I'll get me my pizza. Get my wing. I don't care sometimes.
Ooh.
Yeah, body says, Coach Ed, I don't think you should have done that. But
Ooh.
And during the
well, let's
summertime, it's cookout time, man.
tell me about it, man. So
Yeah,
let's check into the chat. Says say hello to everybody. What's up, Randy? Man, thanks for tapping in, man. Appreciate you. Oh, a storm is threatening my very life today. If I don't get some shelter, oh yeah, I'm gonna fade away. War child. It's a shot away. It's a shot away. War child. All right, this that has to be a song. It's all right, Ken. All right, thank you. All right, I'm saying to myself, okay.
It's a
Uh,
song.
What's up, Mrs. Hastime, the real executive producer of the show? So glad you're here, man. Our cool Can Jerry sold the team? Oh, okay. All right. My cousin is like, what a storm in Toronto. Oh man. So yeah, everyone. Also, thanks for tapping in. We really appreciate everyone for your support. As always, make sure you hit today's the like button on today's episode. Hit it on Philly halftime. Hit it on East Coast Gridiron, and also Coach Ed Gladney's Amazing World of Sport and the Hardcore Sports Network. We really appreciate it. Also, make sure if you haven't subscribed, because everyone's descriptions is in the everybody's information is in the description. Just go ahead, jump onto each, subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when we post new content, and always help us out by putting it into the algorithm, share it on all social media platforms, man. We really appreciate it. What's up, the point guard of the Hardcore Network? What's up, Mitch, man? Thanks for tapping in. Appreciate you as always, man. Nikki, what's up, my brother? Thanks for tapping in, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, going to be a fun afternoon. So let's really. Oh, Daniel Barry, thanks for jumping in right at the right moment. But great show lined up for you guys, and we're going to get ready to lay it out there. And a very interesting one. Skip Bayless, his
Mhm.
ouster, or is he leaving the Undisputed and Fox Sports? I mean, it's been something that people have talked about. Halftime was like, "Oh, coach, we got to talk about this." So you're going to lead this one, Halftime. What's your thoughts on Skip Bayless with his situation there?
So I know they're saying that he's stepping away.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got fired, and it's all because of, let's be honest, it's because of freaking Shannon Sharp and when they player that was on the field that died on the field,
Mm-hmm.
and his ignorant tweet that he had. And this is what really set it off for Shannon Sharp. And then Shannon Sharp took it to another level because he was like, I'm stepping away. He had his problems with Skip. And then Skip went at Shannon Sharp, acting like he wasn't, he's a way better player than you. So what? You're a Hall of Famer. Like your gold jacket don't mean nothing. I think that blew like his just everything dropped for Skip Bayless on that. Couldn't find somebody that he could actually work with. Nobody wants to work with the guy no more because he's so arrogant. He thinks he's better than everybody. And he thinks like, okay, whatever I say, everybody should stick with, and y'all just anything you guys say, you guys are wrong. And they ain't had a way they should do it, and it's about time he steps away anyway, because I never thought he was a good reporter anyway. But thank God he's gone. I am tired of his gibberish that he does.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Coach Dante? What's your thoughts on Skip Bayless?
I mean, me and my dad always used to talk about Skip Bayless ever since. You remember the Mark Cuban situation that happened back in the day where he got destroyed, right? My thoughts have always been like this, right? You can celebrate the fact, and Stephen A. Smith has come out and said this, like, you were one of the ones that helped Stephen A. Smith to get where he was. He always says that. He always makes sure he shouts out Skip for bringing him along, right? So why can't you just celebrate the fact that you're able to put people on? That's one thing. You never hear him say that he's proud of somebody else and having to help him out. And then the second thing, so that's just on the reporter side, right? On the athlete side, you had a Hall of Famer come in that you're going to have to compete with especially when you talk about football and try to give your opinion, which is already hard to match up. Like, Coach, this, like, when people try to get into the X's and O's and and then it's like, really, you ain't really coached before. It's hard for us not to put that coach cap on and just try to one up them, because it comes off rude. But you can't really argue with a Shannon Sharp that knows his stuff when it comes to football. And it's like, all right, Skip, now you brought yourself a brick wall with that. And then he goes off and does his own thing. Instead of taking the high road and being like, I was glad that we were able to do our show together. Glad that he found himself another platform to not only excel himself for a second time in his professional career. Because, I mean, again, he's a Hall of Fame type of guy when it comes to reporting and being an anchor now for sports. So that's always been my problem with Skip. It's like, instead of trying to one up people, you've done a lot to come, and bring people in with you and help them grow. But I think what really digs inside him is he's not the number one guy when that happens anymore. It's like, I was the number one guy and I got trumped by somebody. Okay, I was the number one guy here and then I got trumped by a professional Hall of Fame athlete now, and it's the ratings are starting to go down, and you can't just be bitter now. Like, he could do that for somebody else, and instead of him being so bitter to all of the sports media and the sports world, because that's the way it comes off. You never celebrate those guys' successes when, in fact, you had something to do with that. Like, they couldn't do it without you. And on the other side of that now, it's you're going to be known as, I see what Arku is saying in the chat, like, you're going to be known as a clown. You're going to be known as, a rude-ass dude. And you're just going to be known as a bitter old man at the end of the day, instead of the other side, which is this is what sports media and sports are about, helping your brother out and putting him in a position. He could have been 10 years from now, he probably could have got an ESPY for that, for being, an anchor for sports media and helping put the others on. But now it's going to be the opposite side. You're not going to ever see this from Skip. So, I had, as a human, we all make mistakes at the end of the day, but it's like, dude, you continuously slam the door in other people's faces, and you expect people just to, like, give you a chance. So I agree with you, Halftime. I totally think that now to be politically correct and not seem like everything, because it looks like a bad eye, a black eye on Fox Sports too, right? You can't
Yep.
just come out and say, "Oh, I fired a guy." So the best thing to do is just say, "Yeah, he walked away on his own volition. It just wasn't working out the way that we wanted to." So you kind of got to play that, that professional corporate game too. So that's just all I've always felt about Skip Bayless. It's like, dude, you could have set a great foundation for yourself, but you wanted to ice skate uphill every time somebody else got something that they deserve, but you could have took the high road and you never did. So it's always like, oh, I think I could bring this guy on because I could be better than him. Well, maybe you can and maybe you can't, but that's not your choice. That is the people like us that are watching the TV every single day that help these ratings. So if you're not the guy that is going to, being able to skip up and not skip up, but skip above that next person in an argument, just take it what it is. You're the best second man in sports, sports media, but now people are not going to see it that way anymore. So that's sad for him, but you made your bed, you got to lay in it.
You guys made some phenomenal points in reference to this whole situation. I mean, to be brutally honest with you, I stopped following Skip Bayless early when I started watching First Take with him and Stephen A. And this was when Stephen A was, really starting to come up and, grow. And you felt the arrogance. You felt like, and it turned me off quickly. So when he left First Take, that's when I stopped watching or anything associated with him. Yeah, I know he went to other programs and then people asked me and I said, no, he's not my cup of tea. I don't begrudge anyone else. If you like them, do you enjoy whatever. But for me, no, the level of arrogance, it's like, well, first and foremost, we all are smart. We know sports. And I understand you're a journalist and you did certain things and you won certain awards and so on and so forth, and it was always his point of view. And most of the times it was either about Oklahoma or the Cowboys. And it was always my, where everyone, look, we're all fans of a team, and there are moments we say, what are we doing as far as a team, as opposed to my Oklahoma Sooners or my Dallas Cowboys. First of all, you don't own either team. You're not on either team. You're not associated. You're a fan just like everyone else. So your level of arrogance and disrespect sometimes, I used to say, okay, well, are they putting on a show for us? So I tried to go that route. And then when he left and you hear all the stories, it's like, okay. So my feeling and my sentiment was justified. I just can't stand the guy, and I'm glad he's gone, personally speaking. And you know what? Hey, like you said, karma. It's karma. So you love watching him square. I mean, look, that's where the Stephen A. with how about them Cowboys came from, because of him. Stephen A. wouldn't have gone that far, but when he always talks about the Cowboy fans, in my head, I'm saying it's not really yes, to a degree, it's all the Cowboy fans, but it's really about Skip Bayless. It's your way of getting back, at Skip Bayless. So,
yeah,
to be honest,
sorry to cut you off, Coach, but there was a couple things that like always grinded my gears with Skip Bayless. Like it always came off like he was trying to kill everybody with like his work history. Oh, I've done this for X amount of years. Well, that's just like, we just hired a guy that's been in my field of work for many, many years, but I'm your boss. So it is what it is. You're my employee. I don't care about your age and your work history, but how can that help our team out? Because I'm never going to hold that against you. But that's always what it seemed like. It's like, I'm trying to kill you with the fact that I work harder than everybody, and instead of putting that much energy and just proving the fact that, like, yeah, you've had this amount of years under your field of work, just try to be your best. And I mean, I've struggled with that. A lot of people have struggled with that too. And that's like a learning curve. Okay, I'm in my 30s, and I had to learn that in the last couple of years, like real quick. Like, it is what it is. But dude, he's an older gentleman at this point in time. Like, dude, you have a mindset of a teenager, and you got to grow up from that. And then also having a guy like Shannon Sharpe on your show, or like other athletes, instead of just what would have been a better show to me is instead of trying to argue with those guys, because you can't argue with experience. I mean, it just is what it is. You need to put that on a T-shirt. You can't argue with somebody else's experience, especially a Hall of Famer. So instead of just asking their opinion or getting into a discussion where you're asking them questions, almost like in an interview type of situation, that would have made for a better show because you would have taken the back seat as a guy that's never played the sport, and you would have went and made that guy elevate himself and educate everybody else. That would have made for such a better show because, when Shannon Sharp, I remember when Shannon Sharp and T.O. were on the same show as him, he was talking about, you should be in the Hall of Fame. And then Shannon's like, are you serious? The dude's number 2 all time and like all receiving stats. You're talking about he doesn't deserve a gold jacket. Like just sit back and shut up at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like I think everybody else watching that was like, bro, I would just shut up. You got 2 Hall of Famers sitting in front of you, bro.
Exactly.
Your opinion don't matter at this point in time.
Exactly. And Kelly, thank you. Great point. As far as the journalists, I'm not even going to, that's, their debates over that. So that's fine. But, he just tries to get interactions and reactions from people rather than any real analysis or opinion based on fact. And I agree with that. He's just always trying. It just always comes across that he's trying to get some type of reaction along with his level of arrogance. But he wants you to react, and then he wants to try and come across as I'm smarter than you. So you react, and now here's my opinion, and my opinion only matters because I'm Skip Bayless. So
what he does,
the Damar Hamlin situation totally killed his career. Like,
I think
just like you said, before halftime, like that was a death by 1,000 cuts. It didn't happen right away, but it's been chipping away at him all these years now down the road. And now that Shannon's leaving and the network's not doing as well as ESPN and just stuff like that, like you guys aren't the primetime thing anymore. And it's because of him. Like it's hard to work with somebody like that,
Now, I'm unfamiliar with what happened with him and Richard Sherman. So if you guys know, just enlighten me.
What he's talking about is Richard Sherman went on there and but he went live, but he was on like the computer and he was just,
oh yeah, I remember this.
And they were talking to him and he said, Skip, I'm smarter than you. I graduated from a better college than you. I got a better IQ than you are. And Richard Sherman went deep at him at this one. And he's right. He made Skip Bayless look like a little, like he wanted to crawl in a ball and cry because he was just going at him. That's because Skip runs his mouth too much. And that's what Richard Sherman said. You run your mouth too much. Shut up and listen to what people have to say.
Yeah, and some people took that interaction as like Richard Sherman was like trying to put himself on the pedestal. But what people didn't really understand, and this is one of those other things, like psychologically, yeah, it comes out and it seems like Richard Sherman was being a rah-rah guy during that. But what people don't understand is the reason why Richard Sherman went so hard on him is because he was giving him a dose of his own medicine. You're going to throw your accolades out to me. And everything that I've accomplished in my, I think he was like 24, 25 at that point in time. Like I've accomplished way more than you. And, at this point in time, I'm being celebrated for that. It wasn't the fact that he was just trying to do that out of the blue. He was trying to give him a dose of his own medicine, which is like, I'm from Stanford. Everybody's going to hate me after this, but like the real people that know what I'm doing, they're actually going to understand and they're going to be on my side. So yeah, I mean, he literally put him as a pawn on the chessboard and told him to do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually cool. And then I kind of did not like when Richard Sherman went over there to talk to Skip, but I'm like, everybody thought, oh, it's going to be headbutting and all. And it was, Richard Sherman's just started, he had to calm down because he was getting in trouble so much. So he had to calm down. He couldn't be, he's like, all right, you're going to do this, but there's rules to hang out with Skip Bayless. You can't really butt heads. You got to kind of bow to Skip. And that's how it's been. And he's been babyfied. And now they're like, all right, You're a grown man. Get out of here. I mean, look at Shannon Sharp now. They got rid of Shannon Sharp. He went and got his own little podcast, YouTube. That thing is blowing up like no tomorrow.
It's the best sports podcast.
He's going on First Take. That's blowing up like Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Famer. Just pay attention, listen to the man says, and Skip would have been fine. But no, that arrogance, that pig-headed, saying all the stupid shit that he always says, cost him his job. And I love it because I can't stand Skip.
And Mitch, to your question, my personal opinion, I don't even want to say it's retirement. It's just, you know what? Just go off into the sunset and live your life and just disassociate with society as a whole, man. Just because you're probably going to say something and you're going to say it to the wrong person in the streets and they're not going to take too kindly. And you know what? They're going to go upside your head. And, most people are not going to feel sorry for you. They're just not. But
it's like that fighter in boxing or MMA that says, I still got it. And then you watch him in 5 straight fights get his ass kicked. And you're like, bro, you should have retired 5 fights ago. This is hard to watch. And people don't know that their floor has been met. And he just needs to hang it up. Like, just stop. It's okay. You have nothing else to prove. Celebrate your wins, but understand your losses. And I don't think people understand that as much. Like, you got to understand that you're at a loss right now, and it could get much, much worse, and you could get totally canceled out of the sports world real fast because that's the society that we live in. So at this point in time, you should just be okay with somebody calling you up and like calling Cowherd or something saying, hey, Skip, come on and talk on the show every once in a while. That should be your piece at this point in time. And there's, the Joel Klatts of the world and stuff like that, that's how they started their careers. But his is going to be on the reverse side. Just if you want to still be involved in sports, people are going to call you. Your name is that prominent that they're going to want to hear your silly ass opinion. So, but just take your paychecks as they come. That dude is a multi-millionaire at this point in time. Like, he's laughing at all of us even talking about this if he's out there looking like, you guys can say what you want. I got money in my bank account. Yeah, but our reputation is better than your reputation at this point in time because nobody really knows who we are at this point.
Exactly.
Anthony. Coach Dante, that was a great analysis for how you explained that one. That one was good.
Appreciate it.
Anthony, do you guys think Skip has become like Howard Cosell at the end of Howard's career, where he hated working with younger talent or other people in general? I mean, I could see the similarities, and I understand it. When I grew up on Howard Cosell, so I understand where he's coming from. And when Howard Cosell got older, later in his career, but it just, as a young kid, it just seemed contentious with anyone. It doesn't matter if you're younger or older. It just, even with Joe Namath, at first they seemed to have some type of rapport. And then as it got older, there was just something about him that just turned, like my dad used to say, he's like, I can't stand him. He's like, I used to love Howard Cosell, and now he's like, I just can't stand him. I don't want to watch him. I don't want to hear his voice. He just said just the tone of his voice used to irk him. So, and my dad is not that type of person. He's not going to react in that manner. But I was like, okay, so, my dad is feeling the same way I am. So I do understand.
Hey, halftime, who's the announcer for the Eagles that's been there for a long time? What's his name?
He's about to retire too.
Yeah, I forget his name.
Right off the top of my head, I can't remember it.
Yeah, do you know, Coach? Like he's been there for the Eagles for a long time.
I forget the name right now.
Somebody will probably say it in the comments, but I've seen some of his stuff in the way that he talks about younger talent, like the players around there. Merrill Reese, Merrill Reese. Thanks, Jerry. But yeah, Merrill Reese, the way that he speaks about the younger generation and younger talent, he understands. Like, he's clicked over and said that things have changed and the way that I have to go about things, has changed. Like, and he celebrates that. Like, and he's fine with that, and he's not trying to be controversial. Skip, on the other hand, is just like, I'm still stuck in the old ways. My resume should be put in front of everybody's instead of just embracing the culture and the way that things are nowadays. Like, you need to go and sit with Merrill Reese. You know,
Yeah.
that he would learn a lot from him at his age, and they're probably the same age at this point. Like, dude, things have changed, but the players are still the players, and and at the end of the day, without them, a lot of people ain't getting a paycheck like us. You know,
And like
And
Merrill Reese, he changes it from like, wait, the game has changed how it used to be to how it is now. And he knows how to adjust to it. And yeah, okay, some of these kids got a bigger attitude than they did back in the day because they have their own opinions and they weren't yes, these kids now are not yes guys, and some of them ain't as polite. And Merrill Reese, you're right. Merrill Reese that's a perfect one too. That Merrill Reese was he's a guy that's still kind of young at heart. Where yeah, he might be an old guy, but he's still all right. I'm gonna get with
he
the new
understands
day and
things have
age.
changed. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get with the new day and age. I'm gonna adapt to them.
Well,
And
that's
he's
what
doing it. And
Stephen
he's
A.
like
Smith does too.
almost
Like,
80.
and what people don't understand about Stephen A. Smith is like he changes with the times too. That's why he has a platform that he does. Yeah, he says controversial stuff, but you know what? We talk about it for a week and then we sweep it under the rug because it's Stephen A. Smith and he's got a lot of respect for the players and everything.
Stephen A.
Skip
Smith,
Bayless, we
he
talk about it
gives
for
you enough
months.
to hook you. He gives you enough, even if you hate what he said, he gives you just enough to hook you where you have to listen. Like you want to listen. You might not like what he was saying, but you're like, okay, let me get into this one. Let me find out because it was like I'm like, all right, I don't like what he said, but he got me hooked. He got me fishing for it.
And
there's
some people
times with
just have that.
there's times with Stephen A. Smith with what he says though, it does get you to think. And I always tell people, I said the thing about Stephen A. Smith, he's an actor. He knows how to pull the strings and put on a performance to draw people in. But outside of this, so many people have told me, like, Coach, that's not how Stephen A. really is. He's a real laid back, a little, trying to, stay to himself if he's out in the public eye. And I understand because, of his name and his reputation. But so many people have said, no, he's just, he's putting on a performance, and that's the point. It's entertainment. He has to entertain so people can continue to come in, So and it works. And look, he's about ready to be probably the highest paid sports talk show host out there, And I never thought anybody would pass Mike Greenberg, but here comes Stephen A. And I think he's
about to
what,
make
35, 40 mil. I'm sorry.
He was going to make 25 million.
No, I think it's up to 35. Last time I heard that 35 to 40 mil that per year that ESPN is supposed to be offering him.
And Mike Greenberg needed Mike Golick, and you can see where that is.
Yes,
and that's the difference.
Mike Golick went away.
Stephen A. could do it by himself.
Exactly.
Mike Greenberg can't do it and you see it right now. The morning shows and everything, he's doing it with like 3 or 4 other guys every single morning. Look, so it's like Mike deserved a lot of that credit that Mike Greenberg got for sure.
He didn't get that credit, and that was a shame. I'm like,
that's why he left. He felt like he was getting swept under the rug every show.
I loved Mike and Mike, man. I loved it. So
I don't watch ESPN anymore. That was my favorite one.
The only one that I really watch now, I have to admit, is Unsportsmanlike. Chris Canty, Evan Cohen, and Michelle Smallman. It's just the way they come across, and I get it. Not everyone is up that early, but I get it. Some people, they don't like Michelle, for whatever reason. Some are like, oh, I don't like Evan because he comes off sometimes as a little goofy. So but for me, that's the one show on ESPN I watch. After that, I don't really watch any other one. I might with Stephen A. tap in if he has a particular guest that I heard about, or I have to admit, I do turn in sometimes just to see what Molly is wearing. I
Mhm.
have to admit that I can't lie, So but other than that, it's like, basketball season. I was trying to tune in, if Chanae was on there, and Andrea, because I love the women, how they talk the game. But for the most part, it was just, I get what they're doing and how they're debating, with him and Shannon going back and forth. It's an act. It's an act. So, and Kelly, you said it best with Shannon. I got a lot of respect for Shannon for how he handled working with Skip, and a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have said that in reference to Shannon Sharp. So, yeah, and we know Anthony. We already got that settled in. But thanks a lot, man. Yeah, halftime. And a couple people ahead of you already put that in there. Nikki screaming Jerry Lee. So, but thanks everyone in reference to that. So.
Yeah,
So
the
right
only
now,
other show that I watch, Coach, is,
mhm.
and when it comes back on, because it's not quite football season and it's really during college football, is my favorite announcer out there right now, hands down, is Joel Klatt. I love Gus Johnson too, but like Joe, I relate more with some people relate with Gus Johnson and other people relate to Joel Klatt. But Joel Klatt's show is excellent. Like I
Mhm.
watch every single episode. If I miss it in the morning, I definitely go to the YouTube channel and I watch it. Like if you guys like in-depth opinions about stuff, and sometimes he could be biased. I mean, he went to Colorado. He was
He
a
went to
quarterback for
Colorado.
Colorado. Like,
Exactly. I know
yeah,
that.
he's gonna have his biases, but I don't feel like his biases come off like they're gonna win everything. They're gonna win the national championship. You
He's
have
hard on
those guys.
Colorado. He's hard on Colorado. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So
I'll have to
you know,
check that one out because I don't really I don't get to watch sports. I gotta listen to ESPN in the morning on the radio, and it's horrible. Listening to them, I just want to yell at the radio. It's like I
see,
yell at my TV, I yell at the radio, and I'll start talking to myself.
Yeah.
Like I look at myself like, dude, you're crazy.
Well, you
You
know how
can yell
like
at the
Kirk Herbstreit
radio.
is.
hmm
Kirk Herbstreit's like very insightful. Like you could tell lives, eat, and breathes college football and football in general. Joel Klatt is the same way, but Kurt can be a little biased every once in a while
with
when he's
Ohio
talking.
State, yeah,
Yeah, or Ohio State and stuff. But Joel is like super neutral across the board, like most of the time. And he's a great listen. He's very insightful. Like he pulls you in. You're like, okay, this dude knows what he's talking about. You know,
see, here's my Bible too, Coach. So but and I'm talking about
mine
college.
mine is on the way. Mine is on the way. I
So
appreciate you for showing me that. Yeah, mine is on the way.
yeah, the one show, college football show that I do like following, and it's actually not on TV. It's strictly on YouTube. It's 365 Sports. If you follow them now, they do focus a lot on the Big 12, but they will touch on every college football program that's out there. So, and one of the guys, matter of fact, who's even though he talks Big 12, he's an alumni of Florida State. He'll tell you that too. So, but and he gets into it. But yeah, I love them. They're insightful also, and they're not they're no they have a good following, but it's not like they're on a national TV program. So,
Yeah.
um, what I like is Chris Mad Dog is another entertainer. You
Yeah,
know,
he just entertains. He just pushes.
Mad Dog,
It's
yeah,
just enough to push your buttons.
yeah,
Yeah, and either you like that or you like the insightful version, because that's what it is. It's like I think about that with our channel. Like, yeah, we can get silly every once in a while, but it's usually like straight to the point. Like we try to give you great
mm-hmm,
analysis on everything,
mm-hmm,
and I understand that some people are not gonna like that. And hey,
mm-hmm.
that's your cup of tea. But then there's a whole other side of things where people are gonna come and sit through a 3 hour film study and watch me break down the X's and O's, and that's cool too. Like, everybody's got their own shtick, but one thing I would tell everybody, especially aspiring like content creators or people that are getting into sports media, like I've interviewed a ton of players over the last couple years, and I'm proud to say that, and I wish all those guys good. But at the end of the day, I do this because I like, I like football so much,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to get in the nitty gritty. And coach knows I've coached, I've played. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we understand on a different level, but I don't feel like I have to be like silly and stuff all the time unless I'm streaming a video game or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I catch you in video games too. Then I do. I
yeah.
catch you with, So yeah, sometimes I'm just sitting back there watching, and
Oh, that's all good. Yeah, it's still
yeah.
lurking.
So
It's fine.
I watch some of your stuff, like watch your video games or watch you guys talking, but I never say none. I stay in the backfield. That's where I belong.
Same in backfield.
All
I just
good,
stay in the
man.
back,
All good.
man.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody that comes through and
Well,
watches stuff. I know it's not the
I
most.
watch a lot of people, and I just watch a lot of content creators, and you know, coach, coach, we talked before a long time ago, and Coach Dante, and you've been building up pretty fast. You built your stream up pretty fast, and yeah, you know your sport, you know your football.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you like, what was it, 2 years ago or a year ago?
Yeah, it's been some time now.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Well, since we're now getting into that phase, this is where we're headed now. Coach Dante, we're gonna, halftime and I are gonna, ask you some questions, and just give us, I know you'll keep it straight to the point, and you'll be you, and that's the one thing that I appreciate about you. So nothing too hard or too crazy. So
All good, man.
you ready for it?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's say it's the beginning of Coach Dante. I mean, how did you get started as a content creator, and how did you come up with the name East Coast Gridiron?
Man, so if you guys ever seen Don on our show, we call him the Stats Guru. Me and him worked together for a long time. He's a data analyst, and I'm a engineer on the back end. So we always used to work together on a lot of different projects, even backing him up sometimes. So we would get into these discussions at work. Now this was back in I want to say 2018, 2019, sometime around then. And I had a coworker one time. I called him on the phone to ask him something. And they was like, I didn't even know this was you. It's early in the morning when your voice is a little different. They're like, you got a voice for radio. And if you ever heard Don, Don sounds like Mike Mayock. I always used to tease him, like, you ever listen to him talk? He sounds like Mike Mayock. So, and then he started getting into some voice stuff. He used to do a recording on the the IVR when you call in for your bank balance and stuff. You heard his voice, and I was like, bro, we should just start talking football, because we used to get into these heated discussions about stuff, or my opinion. I always say I think on my own. I'd rather think on my own than be in a group of people and be wrong. That's always been my thought process. So. And I didn't really have a lot of popular opinions. So there was one discussion that we got in specifically around Josh Allen. And I was like, Josh Allen's going to be a really good quarterback.
Okay.
And everybody was like, man, ain't no kid from Wyoming going to be that good. And I think that was to draft him. And there was another one, Khalil Herbert, I believe. And I was like, Khalil Herbert's going to be better than Jadeveon Clowney. I got absolutely drugged through the mud the whole year until they came out and did what they did for their respective teams. When he was on, Khalil was on the Raiders, and Josh got drafted to the Bills. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put this on the audio version. We'll start talking to podcast, and then me and Don started it, and then we brought in this one guy, Nelson, who played running back at Eastern Michigan back in the day. He was in the same class as Reggie Bush. And so all of us got together and we started talking. We just did audio like this. And then, I was a graphic designer. I had my own business for quite a bit. And I was like, why don't we just do the audio version? I could throw the graphics up there and everything like that. So we started doing that. And at first it was called the Go For Two podcast. And it just didn't really sit with me that well. It's a catchy name and people know that it's football, blah, 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 blah. And I saw some other channels start popping up with that name, and that name just never really sat with me. Man, this is something that is my own. I feel proud of this. So we took a 2-month hiatus, and this was back in 2020, in November, because we relaunched the channel in 2021. And I said, let me think of a cool name. And the Gridiron like name just was sticking out to me. I'm like, whenever you hear Gridiron, you know it's football. It is what it is. You know it's football. And then I was like, well, all of us are on the East Coast. I grew up on the East Coast. Regardless of where I moved, it's always been on the East Coast. And it doesn't really mean that, we talk about just East Coast football. Like we talk about everything. It's more so just like the location of where I grew up and where I feel like home. And Don was the same way, and Nelson was the same way. So we renamed it the East Coast Gridiron. And everybody calls us ECG. And that was like kind of the point was like, yeah, we kind of have a long name. But whenever we go on somebody's chat, so everybody's like, that's ECG. And whenever you hear us, it's ECG. So I thought that was cool. And, so we restarted. We restarted the podcast, and we started doing live streams. We started connecting with other people. And that's kind of just how we got started, man, was like, how can I give my rants and my talks and my feelings and my experience about things. And Don brings the stats. And then Nelson was the person that played at the collegiate level. How can he bring his stuff? And he's coached before too. So it was a really cool dynamic that way. And it just kind of, people come and go on, and it's going through going throughout the years. And I always told the guys, I said, my major goal is to grow this as big as possible. I want to get y'all out of the situations that y'all are in, and I'm gonna bust my ass to get us there. Like, I want this to be a brand. We became an LLC 2 years ago. We pay taxes like everybody else. And I'm like, I want to interview players. I want to be down there in the weeds. And by God's grace, we've done all of that at this point. And it's just continuing. Like Halftime said, it's just continuing to grow and grow and grow. I feel like we're one of the most active channels on YouTube when it comes to football anyways. Like, it's always something every single day. So the late nights, man, my wife would be over here sleeping in the bed, and I'm on here editing a video, man. So, I always tell people, you don't have to be the most talented person in the world, but when people start seeing the hard work that you get, you're putting in and consistency, nobody can ignore that at the end of the day, especially if you're having good conversations, because that's the other main part of it. Like, nobody wants to listen to a dumbass commentator, because you can just feed right through it. Do we get our negative comments? Yeah, but it's important for me to stay as neutral as possible. And one thing with me, Coach, you've seen my videos about Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, and when Florida State didn't make the college football playoff, I was the biggest advocate of all of that stuff. I was like, I didn't have the popular opinion, and I stuck with it. And it's just how I feel, man, so, but that's the cool part. Is like, I have to kind of stay neutral too. I don't do it just to stay neutral. I do it because that's how I truly feel at the end of the day. And having a channel like this where we talk about all football and college and NFL, and we've done the XFL and the UFL, we've covered that too. Like, it's important to stay neutral and give credit where credit is due, because how many times have you seen an Eagles fan say that Dak Prescott sucks? Well, he doesn't really suck. You just don't, he just hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl like Cowboys fans have been predicting for how many years, since the early 90s. But that doesn't necessarily is a reflection on one player too. So I feel like we're kind of like the voice of reason there. It's like, football is really a team sport. Yes, can one person get you over the hump? But you can't tell me that the Chiefs win the Super Bowl without Chris Jones this year, like we were talking about yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a team sport at the end of the day, and everybody has to pull their weight. And sometimes it's another person just going beyond, above and beyond, and they got a favorable matchup, and they're just dominated. How many one-year wonders have we seen in the NFL that just do that for 1 year and then they just fizzle out? Like,
exactly.
Nobody's Aaron Donald on that consistency level. Not, we haven't really seen a player like, I think that he's the greatest player of all time, to be completely honest. That's a hot take. But as far as like the consistency of what that guy gave every single year, the constant double and triple teams, and he still put up the stats that he did, yeah, it's hard to argue that may not be the best player of all time.
I'm going to argue. I see you open up a can of worms with that one.
I know.
But no, I get where you're coming from in terms of Aaron Donald, but I also say, because you're younger than me, I say it's LT, because LT changed I
don't disagree with that. Yeah.
So, but I get it. It's like, Aaron Donald, what he did. Yes. LT. So it's sometimes it's the era, because, I just saw the video of Michael Jordan when he's saying about the greatest of all time. He's like, you can't really do that. You can't compare, because
I agree with that wholeheartedly though.
Yeah,
when you said that to me, I totally agree with that.
Exactly. So it's like when when I saw it, I was like, you know what? He's right. Because I always say Michael Jordan isn't the greatest, and people look at me like I'm crazy. But I said it in sarcastically. I'm like, well, if you base it off of championships, then it has to be Bill Russell. Because the
Right.
argument was, well, Michael Jordan has 6 championships. He's the greatest because he had. Well, Bill Russell has 11. So if that's the case, if that's your base, if that's your argument, but again, Michael Jordan, where he, like you said, when you saw it, and I agreed with him, and I even said, you know what, yeah, I got to change my. We can't sit here and say, who LeBron or Michael Jordan. Fans were going to do it. I get it, but
Yeah.
really, if you strip it down and you think about it, no, just enjoy it because I can find people who tell me about Oscar Robertson. I never saw Oscar Robinson, but he was back then considered, in a sense, what Jordan was, what Kobe was for that time, which the game was also different. So, but again, you know,
No,
but
I agree with you wholeheartedly because like me and my dad always argue about like the Jim Thorpe thing. Like he's a Jim Thorpe like head, and I
mhm,
totally get it. Like Jim Thorpe was
mhm,
the man for his time. That award. Like when me and Trey Taylor, I interviewed him when he won it this past season. He was like, "Dude, we talked behind the scenes. He's like, people don't understand like the legacy of Jim Thorpe. He's probably the greatest athlete ever. That like nobody really puts in the category of great athletes anymore." But at the end of the day, do I really think that Jim Thorpe would survive against Micah Parsons and the rest of these dudes nowadays? I don't know, but that's a different era. Like sports and sports medicine and the way that
exactly.
people work out, and they didn't have those metrics back in the day to just see like how much sleep they need. Like I got an Apple Watch. It tells me if I got a good night of sleep. You think if Jim Thorpe had that he probably would have been even better than he was? Absolutely, because that little bit, you start stacking a little bit of things on top of a little bit of things, and they just become greater and greater and greater. But you
You
can
have to look
always.
at LT. To be honest with you, you have to look at LT.
Mm-hmm.
LT. You think LT had got up and got a shake and did all this thing? No, he
Mm-hmm.
was partying. He was drinking.
Partying,
He'd come in. He'd
coking it
come
up.
drunk.
Yep,
He'd come messed
exactly.
up. They're like, "Yo, LT's in the locker room sleeping, and there's a meeting." And he's like, "Yo, is it game day? No, don't wake him. Don't wake the giant because the giant
Mm,
is going to fucking come to game, come to play." Or you look at Reggie White. Reggie White never ate healthy. They just didn't back in the day. It's a different era. How, like Coach Dante was saying, the sleep, you know, eating
eating, the
healthy,
trading. I
getting
mean,
shakes, and now you
screaming
go to a
Jerry.
locker room and they
This
got all
comment
these foods for you.
This comment by Jerry Lee says it all too, because I know about it. You were considered a pussy for drinking water if you were, out there tired and hot, and yes, and cigarettes on the sideline, all of that. You don't see that now. You,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
the greatest picture that I used to have, like I used to have it on my wall, and everything was who was the Chiefs quarterback back in the day? He used to smoke cigarettes in the locker room.
oh, number what's his name? 16. He won the championship. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I forget
Um,
his name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on him.
oh,
He's
I
got like a
know.
crazy name. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
No, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Lynn Dawson. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
Len
So
Dawson.
there's a famous picture. If you guys have never seen, it's one of the hardest pictures of all time. Lynn Dawson's in the locker room smoking a cigarette, and he's
Mm-hmm.
got a soda right beside him as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, bro, things used to be different back then.
Yep.
They used
It's
to be different.
And I used to watch like Lynn Dawson film is crazy too. That dude used to take a hit and throw a ball out and complete it. Like he was known for taking
different.
hits and just getting the ball out.
Trust
Yep.
me, the hits back in the day, in today's day and age, you'd be ejected. You get so many flags during the course of the game. Heck, when I played in the '80s, I mean, some of the stuff. But I also say they've taken it out, and in a sense, they've softened the game. But I also understand why you're doing it. And the biggest factor was concussions. And that started and triggered everything. Once the NFL got sued for concussions because of the stuff they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
it changed the whole narrative. So, because
I will say this: I don't think Lawrence Taylor could actually been that great of a player if he had these rules that he has now. He would have been the guy getting the fine.
he said it. He said it. There was an interview, and he
play.
said I couldn't play in today's day and age. He's like, I would get fined, and don't mess with my money. Number one. So yeah, he said it. Most of those guys. I mean, very few. I mean, I think Reggie White could transfer because he had that persona, and
Yeah.
he
Lawrence
understood.
Taylor could not. Dude was a beast.
He's just
And
he just had that mentality, and it was just, he wanted to hurt you. He wanted to hurt you.
We're going to be like a crazed dog
Oh.
out here.
But I mean,
He
you
said
can go
it.
back to Dick Butkus. Dick Butkus wouldn't survive because
No, I don't think
he
Dick Butkus
wanted to hurt
could
you. Nitschke with Green Bay back in it was a different mindset. I mean, think about what's his name, Deacon Jones.
Yes.
One of Deacon Jones's greatest move, and he said it, he mastered it, was the head slap.
Yep.
But now that you can't do that. And
they made rules.
Exactly.
The old guys made rules for now.
Exactly.
I mean, like, you see this, like the new tackle that they just have, you're not allowed to do, where you grip on somebody and go dead on them.
Yeah.
With the dead weight. You're not allowed to do that no more.
Me and Joe Green used to trip people.
You
can't do that shit no more.
You can't do it no more. So it's like
he used to club you in the knees. Like nobody does that.
The clothesline was legal back in the day. You can't do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, and that goes back to the 40s. I mean, I've seen videos where guys get clothesline and you're like, wow, you can't do that nowadays. Spearing.
Yep.
They used to spear, line you up and hit you right in the spine of your back too as a quarterback.
Dawkins was good for the spear. He really knocked people out.
Yeah. So nowadays,
it's crazy. Like, I mean, I even hate some of the rule changes. Like, I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like one thing that annoys me is the catching rule. It annoys me so bad. Now here's where football always contradicts itself. If I catch a ball, right, with two hands and I get slammed to the ground and the ball ends up moving, it's an incomplete pass because I didn't maintain control.
Yeah.
Your knee is down. Your elbow goes down before even the ball hits the ground on most of those cases. But I'm considered a down man in any other situation. But because the ball move is an incompletion, come on now. Like, that's a contradiction.
That was the Megatron rule. That was that Megatron rule back with that touchdown. And it was just like, because now with
you can't control the ground, man. Like, I don't understand.
It's the video. It's the video because now you take it and you're slowing it down to frame by frame. Well, if you do that, yes, everything is going to, it's going to change the narrative. So it's like, but if you're watching it, what do your eyes tell you? Like with Coach, I always say my eyes don't lie to me when I'm watching film. Everybody can talk all this other stuff, and you can slow stuff down, and I've done that. But when I speed stuff up and I look at it, and I'm just like, my eyes ain't lying to me. I see what I see, and that's what's the old saying? In terms of pornography, I know pornography when I see it. I may not be able to explain it, but I know it when I see it.
That's facts.
There's certain things in the game of football, just like you're saying with a catch, the point of going to the ground. It's like, but other times you could let the ground, you can control it and hit the ground. And as long as you maintain control, it's like, well, wait a minute. But now
if you've seen some amazing catches get called back.
They have a rule called the ground can't cause a fumble. So how is it when it hits the ground and moves a little bit, that's an incomplete?
Now, if the ball's like popping completely out of the person's hands and stuff, I get it. But like Jordy Nelson back in the day,
what's going to give? Something's got to give.
Jordy Nelson got so many calls called back, and I'm not a Packers fan, but how many amazing catches did Jordy Nelson have to go up one hand, grab something, bring it back in, he hit the ground, and the ball moved a little bit, and they're like, no touchdown. If I was Jordy Nelson, he would probably be a Hall of Famer if half them things weren't called back.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would have had
Mhm.
so many touchdowns. Like it's just watering it down, man. Like a dude can have an amazing effort, and it's already hard to get around or get inside leverage or outside leverage on Sauce Gardner, and then you go up and one hand grab it, bring it in, run down the field, and because he tripped you, and the ball just like moved a little, like
It moved a little bit.
moved a little bit. It's not a completion or it's a fumble or whatever. Like I just don't. I've never understood that, and
I just think the refs don't know the rules completely.
yeah,
Like they don't do enough homework. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't do their work. They don't put the work in that they're supposed to, and they don't understand. Like when they read okay, this is the rule. They're not really understanding the rule, and they're not going to higher ups and saying, "All right, what the fuck are you guys talking about? What do you mean here? Like how far is the ball moving that it's not a catch?"
I think they
And
do.
you go like this, and the ball moves a little
I
bit.
do understand the rules, but they're going like my kids always say, like I'm Captain Literal. Look, I'll take your words and I'll use it against you.
Mhm.
And I'll say, well, this is my interpretation based on the wording. And I think that's where it is. It's a lot of times it's the wording and how it's interpreted because I do think they understand the rules. It's just that sometimes they're being way too literal. But then again, it's kind of hard because if you're not literal, somebody's going to try and play it. Because look, I'm a coach. I'm telling you the truth. I'm always going to try and push the envelope as much as I can within the rules of the game. I'm going to try and push the rule. I'm going to try and push the envelope.
Absolutely. All
And
that 1% that you can push that totes the line is still within, and it's
mhm.
still within the rules. Like, why wouldn't you try to squeeze that little bit of juice out? I mean,
Exactly. And I think that's where the referees come into because they know this. They also know this. We as coaches, as players, we're going to push the envelope. So they're trying to be very literal and take away any grayness and try and make it black and white. Well, sometimes you just can't. You can't, and that's why I say sometimes, you know what, they're good at their job. Now let me as much as I can complain about the officials, they're good, but I know what I see. And sometimes it's like, okay, I know you guys know what you see, and then you run to the replay, and sometimes you want to let replay be the end all be all, where it's just like, you know what, just make a decision and go with it. If they overturn it, they overturn it. Don't let replay do your job for you.
you know what I compare that to? And I totally agree with them flagging this call. But when Pittsburgh was playing against Wake Forest in the ACC championship and Kenny Pickett went for that fake slide, there was
Mm-hmm.
everybody on the planet was like, "Ooh, yeah, that's gonna get
Mm-hmm.
some people hurt." But on the other side of that, I was like, "Damn, that was smart too." Like if you wanted to,
Exactly.
that's what we're talking about, pushing the envelope, just that 1%. But
Exactly.
during that week when they said, "Okay, that shit's banned now,"
Exactly.
nobody was
Nobody
disagreeing with
was
it. We
no.
was like, "All right, he got one off," and it was cool. But that's the type of stuff that makes history in a good way. Like Kenny
Right.
Pickett was just smarter than everybody else and took the advantage of that, and that was cool. But
Exactly.
it's not gonna be cool for all the other players because coach at halftime, the Jalen Hurts, the Lamar Jacksons, the Kyler Murrays would be doing that shit like
They be
crazy
doing it too much.
because they would be so good at it. You can't tell me there wasn't a dual threat quarterback all over the country that was like, "Ooh, that Kenny Pickett move. Are we about to practice that tomorrow?"
All right, halftime. You got a question for Coach Dante?
Who would I had a question, but I forgot it now. We were
Okay,
talking
I
about
got more. I got more.
we went on
It'll
this
come
big
back
old
to you.
rant. This is what I love
It-
about the rants. We went on this big old rant. Now I forgot it.
Hey,
Oh
all
God,
right.
I can give you some good rants, man. We get down into the weeds.
I love a good rant.
Yeah, all right, Coach Dante. All right, now I know you cover football. All right,
Yep.
but are there any other sports that you cover? With your programming.
No, I mean
What's
strictly
up,
as the
NYG?
as the name says, Gridiron, we strictly keep it to football.
Okay.
And the reason why I do that, I mean, I could talk about hockey at a high clip. I could talk about MMA at a high clip. Like, well, not nowadays, but when I was like really into it, back in the day, really when we started doing this, like it's totally taken my attention away from other sports too, because I feel like that I have to squeeze as much juice off the football brain as I can to stay relevant with, with everything. So like when it comes to what, like, in the off season, I'm watching film, like I'm like 450 film studies deep on my own, like on my own, like I have a spreadsheet of everybody I'll watch, what game they did, like all my notes and everything. So when I started taking this like really serious, that's what's really has started to take over. But I mean, hockey, MMA, football. I don't watch baseball. No offense to anybody that watches baseball. I can't make it through a baseball season. I mean, I respect what those guys do, but I can't. It's just my wife watches it. She's a diehard Phillies fan. Her and her family. I'm just like, I'm gonna go to the other room. I'd rather watch the Law and Order, over and over and over. I just can't get through football. But yeah, man, I feel like I have a responsibility to make sure that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. And I respect everybody else that talks about all sports. Coach, I know you talk about basketball a lot. Halftime, I've been through your live streams where you're getting down in the weeds with baseball. To me, I just feel like, how much I get in depth about one thing, I try to do that with others, and then it makes everything else watered down for me. Like I know my own self, and I don't want to be the source of truth for 5 different sports, and then having so much of a mixed crowd, or in my space. Like I respect everybody else that does it, but it's just a lot easier for me to focus on football because I know it. I read up on it, I've studied it, and I just don't want to seem like I'm an expert on something else when I'm really not. That's never been me. So football is the thing I feel like I'm the expert on. So I just stick with that. And then the year-round content, it's hard to find stuff, but it's easy for me because that's what I do. So
no, that's fair.
For me and my sports, I am just when I do it, it's the fandom. I'm the fan of it. I'm just gonna. Hey, I'm the guy that's gonna yell. I'm the guy at the bar. I'm the, you know what I mean? That's how I look at myself. I'm the old guy at the bar yelling at the TV. Or if I go to the game,
that's cool, yeah.
And I go and I'm drinking a beer, that's what I do. And but I get what you're doing. You're just said, all right, I'm focused on one. Because I was doing what you did, Coach Dante. In the beginning, I was only focused on one. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to show the Eagle fan in me. But then again, nobody's getting to see the other sports that I do. But everybody likes to rant that I go on.
That's the biggest thing. No, you're known for the rants. Yeah, I admit that. That's a lot of people want to tune in to see if you're going to rant. Like
they even yell for rants. Like, go on your rant, please. We need it.
And that's cool. Like, everybody's self-aware of who they are and what they decide to do when it comes to this space, right? My thing is when I'm interested in something, I go 110% into it, where I feel like if I'm talking about it, I have to be the expert on what I'm talking about. That's my responsibility for having this channel, which is not everybody else's mindset, and I get that, but that's how I am. Like my wife will tell you, if I'm interested in, let's say, sourdough bread, for example, and I'm eating it every single day, I'm going around shopping for sourdough bread. God damn it, by the end of this year, I'm going to be an expert on sourdough bread. I might even open my own damn sourdough bread restaurant. It just is what it is, but that's just how I am. So
no, and that's to be well respected and appreciated, and I understand that, because everyone has their stick,
You got to find your stick,
And the one thing about, like, for me, in terms, because everyone asks me, why is it, world of sports, and I'm like, well, first and foremost, as a kid, I played every sport in my neighborhood, football, basketball, baseball.
And I wrestled and played lacrosse, and that was it. And ran track every once in a while. So those are like
track and field.
Those are really my 4 things. So
exactly. So, and it's like it's what's embedded in me. And then, when I went to college, originally I was going to be a gym teacher, So guess what that means? You have to be able to, as a teacher, you have to teach all the sports.
Yeah.
Then life happened, and then when I went back to school to finish my degree is sports management. So it's like, and that broadens so many different avenues, whether it's journalism, whether it's being an agent, whether it's being a coach, an owner of a sports team or a sports league, which I've done. I've owned my own minor league semi-pro football team. I've helped out running sports leagues. So, but the fact of the matter is, I love sports. There are certain sports that, just like you're focusing on, football. I can focus in strictly on football. I could. That's but as my best friend, she always tells me, she's like, Ed, football, football inside and out. It's easy. She's like, you've been doing it for 40 plus years. Sometimes you want to challenge yourself with it, and she's right. But that's me. The competitor in me, and I like the challenge. So and
yeah, like with me, it's like I want to make football hard again. So I always try to. That's where my knowledge comes from. Is like, dang, I know a lot, but like I'm sitting here and buying these type of books, all constantly, trends and stuff like that. Like I have like a stack of just stuff over here, like learning other people's opinions about things, and it's like, yeah, I knew some of this stuff, but like I got this one on the Packers offense last year. And the one guy was like, well, here's what Jordan Love did last year that not all the quarterbacks did. The way he goes through his progressions is probably the best in the league, but nobody acknowledges that, and he draws that out. So it's like it's stuff like that I'm like, man, I don't know it all, and this is hard to learn again. Like I want to be able to relearn something new, because and we look at the NFL like this too. Was a spread offense a thing like 10 years ago?
Nope.
Maybe a little bit when Chip Kelly got into the league, but no, it was pretty much non-existent before that. It wasn't non-existent, but there was sometimes where people use it as like a trick formation and not like as a standard formation.
I will say something that's controversial when it comes to the spread offense, because in all actual purposes, the spread offense has been around for the longest while. It really has, because you can go back to Eric Coryell. Technically, they were running. Now there are different principles. The run and shoot is a variation of the spread offense, because in principle, the spread offense is about spreading the field, as opposed to condensing it in two backs in the backfield, tight end, the receiver. It got away from instead of going to 21 or 22 personnel, you're going to 11, and then you spread to 10 personnel and then empty, so in the run and shoot, now it's different, because, you're taking, it's almost like a half, instead of a true drop back, I don't want to say it's a true sprint out, but it's a quarter sprint out. And the way the receivers are running their patterns and the concepts and the combinations, and the air Coryell, like I said, with Dan Fouts back in the day, I mean, airing it out. And, the old AFL, they were more airing it out and attacking the field, not only vertically, but horizontally. So, but then again, that's just me really taking the spread offense now and saying there are principles that are from that time frame. It's just that it's more expansive, and they've learned to grow on it, which is to the benefit or the detriment, however you want to look at it now.
Yeah, the other thing too is like the spread and RPO offenses, and this, like they directly derive from the West Coast offense, because the West Coast offense was gun it short and just destroy people across the middle of the field. And what is an RPO? Usually you're running one slant, you got a guy that's running a bubble on the other side, and you hand it off inside zone. Like, and then you're taking it, reading off that that outside guy, that outside defensive end or outside linebacker, whoever it is. If he's moving, then I can hand it off. If he's not moving, I can hand it off. If he's moving, I'm gone as a quarterback. But it's just, when you look at the formations, the pistol, all that stuff, it's just West Coast, and now they just turned it into, we're doing RPO now. Make sure that offensive lineman doesn't get 5 yards down.
Exactly. That's really all it was. I mean, they never called it as much until you started the advent of the RPO. once you added the RPO, because offensive linemen were always going downfield. Now you have to really stay engaged. As long as you're engaged, technically, if you go down 2 or 3 yards downfield in the pros, you're not illegally downfield. Once you disengage, technically you're supposed to try and it's going to be hard to do to get back to the line of scrimmage. You're not thinking about that as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's again, we could sit here and go into
I know.
that. Yeah.
I
So,
know.
but wait a minute, Anthony has a question for you, Coach. He said, "Do you agree with Coach Ed that the air raid is an offense that won't work by itself in the NFL? Or do you think and have other opinions that it can work by itself without being a hybrid offense?"
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and here's why. In today's game, the way that the running back is being used is being used in almost 3 ways. You got to be able to block, run, and catch, right? So when you're thinking about an air raid offense, what are they doing? Of course, it says it in the name. They're throwing it wherever they want to. It's really a quarterback-friendly system. And I know a lot of people say like it's a passing league. Well, yeah, because now, you know why they said it? Because we're getting a running back involved more than we used to back in the day. So you're adding him as an extra weapon. But the thing is when the running game does work for like a Christian McCaffrey, who does he have at tight end? A George Kittle, right? So whenever you limit yourself to just an air raid offense, you take a protection away from a guy like a tight end, and you're making him into a bona fide, you got to go down the field and just catch. And, say what you want about like Travis Kelce, for example. I think that they're probably the most air raidy type of offense. But again, they got Patrick Mahomes, which no other team in the league has a Patrick Mahomes. So, and it works for them. But if you try to get somebody to replicate the talent of what the Chiefs have on offense with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, that's a lot to ask for another team to go ahead and replicate that. You can try all day, but a lot of that off-script stuff works for them and Andy Reid, so you can't really duplicate it. So, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, if Mike Leach was to become a coach for the Baltimore Ravens, for example, you think that shit's working? No.
Hell no.
That's why Todd Monken is there in their offense to help settle down the fact that, like, yeah, Lamar, we'll give you enough weapons where you can throw the ball, but I'm actually going to utilize you as a runner as well. Where your skill set is there. He made him a better passer in 1 year. That's why he's the MVP of the league. But don't take it as fact that like Todd Monken runs a pro style offense that's predicated around the run too. And when Greg Roman was there, he already established that. So when Todd Monken came in, there wasn't a lot that he had to switch around with the weapons that he had there. So yeah, Coach, if you said that, I totally agree wholeheartedly. An air raid doesn't even work. There's never been an air raid. Let's see, the last air raid team to win a national championship, it's been a long time. We're talking about old school Pac-12 teams that used to use that probably like back in the early – no, Colorado. Colorado with Cordell Stewart was probably the last one.
I wouldn't say that was an air raid.
Yeah.
Because they still had the run.
They were major West Coast too, yeah.
Yes, and they still had the run with that. So, I mean, Mike Leach, God rest his soul, he was the master of it. But what people don't like if you watch him, Mike Leach pretty much had all his plays on an envelope that he would write down. He didn't have to play big scripting or whatever. He would just sit there, look at it, and then call it off of how he felt. And what I always said is with that, the air raid becomes very predictable, and it's going to be easier to defend. You can run whatever concept. They're not really running a lot of concepts also. They're really spreading you out. And yes, they're using the pass to set up the run in a sense. They only run, and I think he runs like 3, maybe 4 running plays out of it. That's it. He doesn't really do
that.
Much
Running back
it.
is used as an extra blocker. They run 11 personnel like crazy in air raid. And you're not going to see that running back getting in the flats.
That's all they really use him as a block, the running back as a blocker. They got it.
That's it. It's a tight end and a couple other receivers, and they're getting inside of the box, which we always used to say inside the box is 10 yards, and they're digging you inside of there, and then they're going to throw it over the top. That's their version of chipping you away.
Do that in the NFL like that?
No, because your running game's so important. I mean, the only reason it works with Mike Leach when he was at Texas Tech and Mississippi State and in Washington State is because those teams in those conferences didn't play defense a lot. So when they went up against it, it was like, Oh, they're chipping us away 10 yards, 10 yards, slant, 9 route, touchdown.
And then that's it.
Graham Harrell is the MVP.
look, one of my favorite combinations, and it's very simple, is always a smash route. And where you run some type of a stop or a hitch underneath on the outside with the corner, and you don't have that in the air raid.
There's no stopping. It's full blown.
No.
The only stop that you're gonna get is a cut from a slant. That's it. Bam, bam, bam. 3 steps, and then it's full blown sprint from there.
Exactly. So that's why, to me, it's the air raid is good in high school and college because, and in some youth programs, if you can really teach it, because it's very simple and you don't have to do a whole lot, and the kids really don't have to learn a lot per se. They just have to really master what their technique and what they have to do in terms of that. Quarterbacks, really, they are not reading the field for the most part. They don't have a lot of progressions. So it's like, I get it. I understand what it does. And like you said, you're playing a lot of teams that really don't play defense. You bring that stuff to the Big Ten. You bring it to the Big Ten where they really do play defense. Nope, it's not going to work.
Michael Leach never had success at Mississippi State because of that, and he never wanted to adapt.
Exactly.
But when he was with Texas Tech or Washington State, he was piecing people.
Yeah,
but
I'm a big Mississippi State fan in the SEC. That's the only SEC team that I root for. And I hated. I understood. I think he would be a good offensive coordinator in the passing game, but overall, as a play call, no.
Hey, Anthony, the times that Mike Leach did win against those teams is when they had really bad defensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Grantham at Florida was not a good defensive coordinator. They used to say down and I'm a Florida Gators hater. I'm a Florida State fan, but I call a ball, a strike, a strike. Todd Grantham would give up a 3rd and 15. He would, and it would be because Mike Leach is hitting them over the top for 20 yards. When you're not familiar with practicing against that from a week-to-week basis, it's hard to game plan around it. I mean, how do you practice that and you got to have a really fast team, because teams like the Chiefs, who I think are just an extension of the air raidy type of offense, think about the receivers they've had over the years, and I'll go down the list. Travis Kelce is probably the fastest tight end. McCole Hardman is a burner. Tyreek Hill is a burner. Sky Moore is a burner. McCole Hardman is a burner. And they just drafted Rashee Rice last year, who's a burner. And they drafted a couple more burners this year.
The stupidest thing that freaking I watched in that draft. How would you why would the Bills do that? Let's go get the best quarterback, the fastest dude that ever freaking got on the field. It's going to be crazy to watch. I'm just like, look at this kid. Watch this. Yo, just run. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. But they've always had fast receivers. So, and that's what you need in the air raid offense. Them dudes are just burners. And the Chiefs have always done that. Oh, Kadarius Toney is the best example. He's a burner, but can't catch the damn ball. But when he does catch it, he's incredible. But
I give him that.
It's a coin toss. Like, you could sit there, and if Patrick Mahomes throws it to him, you could just flip a coin real quick. And if it's heads, he might catch it. He's a coin toss away from not catching the ball. The difference between an option route and a traditional West Coast offense and a trigger route and what you see with a spread or an air raid offense. I mean, an option route can be in any offense. It just depends. That's
hammy, yo. That's a giant. That's for us Giants. We call him Little Hammy.
Oh, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
He's an incredible talent. He just can't catch, man. That's part of playing receivers. You got to catch the ball.
He got to get receiving on his hand. He needs to put stickers on his hand.
He needs to play punt returner and kick returner in this new kick return rule. That's it. He should just be a special teamer his whole career.
Let me. Oh no, you were answering Anthony. Let me let you finish, and then I'll add.
Yeah, I mean, option routes could be in any offense. It just depends on the coverage. If you're getting inside, outside leverage on the line of scrimmage. I mean, it can even be downfield for a tight end. Hey, if that middle linebacker, that Mike linebacker drops, you might need to go in and block him because he might. A lot of people like to disguise the blitz packages that they're doing, but that first 2 steps inside, he might go up and block. That could be an option route. It could be a block or into an inside slant if he's just moving, shifting to one side. Like, there's a lot of different stuff that can go on with option routes, and it really just depends on the personnel that you have. You need smart receivers run option routes. That's what we always used to say. The smartest receivers run it. If they're very simple-minded and they're not that bright, I don't want that guy running. I want him just to study on one route. Like, it is what it is. But as far as trigger routes and stuff like that, and the spread and air raid offense, like, I mean, the West Coast and air raid are they're different. I mean, West Coast, yeah, there is a lot of passing, but you run the ball, 20, 25 times a game in the West Coast offense. But the West Coast it's designed to make sure that you're chipping away at a defense more than what your running game could do. Like, you don't necessarily have to have the fastest receiver, but at the end of the day, if you need a 3rd and 5 and you have let's say a Tyreek Hill, he might not necessarily be running a slant and where everybody's expecting it. He might just be running a straight 9 inside the slot and waiting for that safety to get cheated down to push the tight end out in open space. It's a lot. West Coast is, to me, it's one of the most difficult playbooks to learn for an offensive player. It's difficult because everybody has to be. It's a very in sync type of formation. So whenever everybody has to know what everybody's doing. I mean, it just is what it is. It's not very straightforward. There's a lot of read and react.
There's a rule. There are different rules, and the rules vary. And you've seen that with the West Coast. Even every coordinator, even though there's a basic foundation, they've added their rules to the offense. So and like Coach is saying, it is predicated on the run game. It really is. If you go back and watch San Francisco back in the 80s, with Wendell Tyler and Roger Craig, those guys. I mean, they contributed in the run game. And it was a lot more physical than most people, because most people said, oh, it's a finesse type of an offense. No, it's not. It just depends on your personnel and how you use them. And then getting the running backs into the passing game, because at that time frame, you used the running backs, but you didn't use them as much as the 49ers did at that point in time, which now it took your linebackers now and put them in responsibilities into pass coverage, where a lot of times they would just play a little middle underneath and little short hook areas, and they would, the backs would probably flare a little bit, and they knew how to take the angle and to defend them. Where on the back end, your DBs, they played a little bit more intricately, in terms of their coverage schemes, where the West Coast offense took care of that. And then the other biggest factor is you're attacking those linebackers with receivers coming in with slants, and then letting those receivers now turn upfield, because now those linebackers could not catch them, which created a mismatch. So, and then the option routes, like you're asking, like Coach is saying, I mean, that can be built into any offense, man. It really can. Trigger route is a new word for me. So, I'm going to be doing my research to really understand what it is. I have a general idea. I think I know what it is, but it's like, okay.
Trigger routes are used a lot to throw a man off. It's not necessarily you're going to run one route or another. It's more so it's like decoy. I'm gonna step inside and make that linebacker shift or focus on me, which is going to make the that inside corner dip a little bit lower so I can get outside. Like, decoy. Trigger routes do a lot of that, and I've heard trigger routes used in certain terms, but that's just how I know it as. So, but yeah, that's a newer term that I've been seeing in a lot of books too. But it's just like an inverted option route, basically.
Yeah, and like I said, I used to call it decoy routes. So okay, based on exactly what you're saying, it's a decoy.
Everybody has different terminology.
Yeah, get eyes on you, so this way, the primary can, the quarterback can focus a little bit more on the primary, and we're targeting whoever you're trying to you run the decoy at. So all right,
we used to call it latch. Like whenever I had our quarterback in the huddle, I'm like, if you think that on the strong side of the field there's way too many men over there, and you want to pull somebody to help your outside guy. We used to say latch. Nobody knew what that was, but it was just he's going to give a little step in the inside and either just stay there and watch his guy run upfield. it's all different. Every coach has a different terminology too. So, but I think that's what he's talking about when it comes to the tricker routes.
All right, so let me see. I have all right. In terms of football, you said that all right. You're a fan of Florida State and
Yep.
the Jaguars. Why?
hmm So it's not the most full blown story, but so the Jacksonville Jaguars, I was ambidextrous growing up, and I kind of grew out of that once I got into high school. Like I was left handed, predominantly, and I could write with my right hand, and then I went from left hand to right hand dominant. So I used to
Mm-hmm.
throw a football left handed. And so there was two quarterbacks primarily in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL at the time. It was either Steve Young or
Mm-hmm.
Mark Brunell. So in
Mm-hmm.
'95, I'm 5 or 6 years old, starting to watch football for the first time, and I seen Mark Brunell play for the first time, and he just looked good in that number 8, and it was the new team, and they so I grew up in Baltimore, and they played the Baltimore Ravens. I'll never forget
Mm-hmm.
that, and they actually won that game, and I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna start rooting for the. I didn't have a team, but I just liked the name. I didn't know where
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville was at the time. Growing up in Baltimore, who knows? I didn't know where Jacksonville was. I didn't care about geography at that time, but it was more so Mark Brunell, because he used to run too. He was a little shifty guy, but I've always liked Mark Brunell. I got his jersey in the closet, man. I've had that jersey since like 1998. But yeah, he's that's the reason why I started rooting for the Jaguars, and it just always has been an attachment for me. Even though this guy back here, John Lynch and Mike Allstar, are my two favorite players of all time, which I was telling them backstage, like I should really be a Buccaneers fan, but now I'll never switch to another team. I know I have a bunch of Raiders fans. They want me to come over to Raiders Nation so bad, but I was like, I respect what you guys got going on, but like there are sweeter times coming. I've seen it
Mm-hmm.
happen, and there
Mm-hmm.
are sweeter times coming. I just gotta, wait this one out. Florida State, not a big story. I mean, I don't really know. Like my dad told me, he took me to a North Carolina game,
Mm-hmm.
and Florida State was playing, and this is when they were able to bring the mascots to other stadiums too. And Chief Osceola came out. And he was like, "You were all hyped up when the dude came out on the spotted horse and all that other stuff." And I don't really know. It's kind of vague, like where the transition happened, but I just know that I've always rooted for Florida State. Ever since then. So it just so happened to be two Florida teams the way that it worked out. You know what I'm saying? And I've
Mm-hmm.
always had the mindset, like I grew up in Baltimore. I'm like, I'm a root for the teams that I want to root for, and I need to have an attachment other than just the city that I live in. Because I don't claim Baltimore. I even hate going back to Maryland. Like, I never had a good experience living in Maryland, and some of the people there are, think of any word in the book, But at the end of the day, like that's why I was attached to both of those teams, and that's why I always have. Now I also root for the Seahawks too, and my attachment around that is I remember Keenan McCardell in an
Mm-hmm.
interview talking about Steve Largent, and that's who he learned a lot of his stuff from watching film. And I started watching film on Steve Largent, and I was like, you know what? Seahawks are a cool team to root for. They're in the NFC. They have nothing to do with the AFC, and it would be cool to see the Jaguars and the Seahawks go against each other in the Super Bowl one day. But I can tell you, 2013 was an incredible year. It's when I met. It was a couple months before or after I met my wife when we started dating, and Florida State and the Seahawks won their prospective championships that year. So, a lot of people don't get to see that in their lifetime, but I'll always cherish that when Jameis Winston drove us down the field and the Seahawks just beat the shit out of the Broncos. So, love
Okay.
it.
So, Coach
Okay.
Dante, I got a question.
hmm
What made you, when you were a kid, what made you like football? How did you become a football fan?
My dad, primarily. So people don't know I'm biracial. So my dad's white, my mom's black, which is it's usually the opposite side. It's usually the other way
Mm-hmm.
around. Um, my dad played punter at North Carolina Central, so he played for HBCU.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But just growing up, I've always was around football. Actually, my goddad, I don't know if you guys remember this name, but Greg Scales used to play tight end for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
That's my godfather.
Oh, really?
So I've met him like once. We're not like super close, but my dad was in the military, and they grew up as like best friends and things like that, during college. So And I believe Greg actually played for Wake Forest. So that's, they grew up in the same town in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But honestly, halftime, everything's vague from there. It's just that was that one sport that I've always clinged on to. My other side of my family grew up in Alabama, so they're naturally Alabama fans. My aunt, she went to University of Florida A&M. So I was always surrounded by like either going to a football game with my dad or just our whole family just shutting down Saturdays and Sundays to watch football. I mean,
I know
I
how
grew
that
up.
is. I got a big family. So my family used to shut down. You used to watch football, and that's it.
It was definitely a getaway for me. So like on the other side of that, like personally, we grew up really poor. So I remember eating like mayonnaise sandwiches, bro. Like goulash every single week because that's what we could afford. A big pot of it, the whole family eats off of that for 2 or 3 days. You know what I'm saying? But it was like Saturdays and Sundays were like a release for us. You know what I'm saying? That was the one thing outside of Christmas and the holidays and stuff like that. And don't even get me started on the Thanksgiving. When we had Thanksgiving, had like 4 or 5 TVs in the house. Wherever you went in the house, the same football game was on, so you didn't really miss anything. But growing up poor and that being like the one thing that brought everybody together too, regardless of what team was playing, because some of my family were Cowboys fans too. At the end of the day, we were just that was just the one thing that I always remember. Like we always had football on the TV. We always were at high school games. I was always in Pee Wee playing some type of football. So, that's basically just, how I got into it, man. There's no other sport that was like it in our household. We didn't really pay attention to anything else.
Okay. That's some good stuff, man. I mean, that's very deep, and I like that. So thanks for sharing that. So
Yeah, man.
We're doing this family thing too. Like we're so we like getting into the family parts too. So it's cool. I mean, that's how I grew up with all my family. Butting heads about your team and all.
Yeah, I mean, never really worried. We never really had those rivalries in our house. Like everybody rooted for a different team. Like some people rooted for other teams, and then my uncle was an Indianapolis Colts fan when he moved to Indianapolis. Then he moved to Maryland and became a Baltimore fan. So like nobody was ever consistent in my family with the teams that they rooted for, except for me. It was like these are the 2 teams, or these are the 3 teams, and I'm dead set locked in. So.
So there's a question from Anthony. Were you one of the FSU fans that went on Twitter last season complaining that the NCAA screwed you guys out of the national championship? And do you agree with sitting out against Georgia?
I definitely was on the other side of that, Anthony, to be completely honest with you. So I don't see my team's world in the same view as everybody else. So you have to take it like this. Yes, I root for my teams. I love when we have success, but I'm a football fan at the end of the day, and I actually understand the rules of engagement. So with that being said, one of the rules that I always read the rules at the beginning of the season before the season starts with the CFP because it's important. Most fans don't, but I'm telling you right now, that's what I do. And one of the rules there that they stated at the beginning of the season last year was if you have a major player that goes down. Jordan Travis was 30% of our offensive scores last year. When a major player goes down, you will not highly be considered to be in the Final 4 teams. That just is what it is. We almost lost against Boston College. We had a tough game against Miami last year. And so with all that being said, when Jordan Travis went down, I was like, this team, and I'm not the biggest Jordan Travis fan. I still thought he had a lot to prove. Like, the dude was hurt his whole career. Like, every single year, this dude had an injury. So when he got injured, was I surprised? No, I don't wish injuries on nobody, but I wasn't surprised based off of his history. But on the other side of that, I can't be naive in the fact to think that when a guy like that is, 30% of our offensive scores last year goes down, that we're even going to have a chance to go against the Texas or Washington or Michigan. And I also didn't want us to get in, not because of that reason. Well, when you have that guy out and you go against the other 3 primetime teams, regardless of our record, I know people wouldn't have sat out, but you can't tell me that Florida State was going to beat Washington, Texas, Michigan, whatever team they decided to put in, Alabama, we would have got our ass kicked. And it would have been worse than us losing in the bowl game with opt outs by 60 points against Georgia. And here's the reason why. And I try to tell people this: if you put us in a college football championship and we lose real bad, it's going to be hard for us on recruiting. It's going to be hard for us on the transfer portal because people are just going to be like, all right, they were one step away, but it's not appealing that you guys are a championship team and you couldn't get it done. When we lose in the bowl game that bad and people opted out, and and I knew it was going to be controversy, so you have to put that in place. The controversy from everybody else that's not me is going to make players want to come play for Mike Norvell. We got 5 or 6 transfers, primetime transfers from Alabama when Nick Saban retired. They wanted to come and put Florida State back on the map. We got DJ Uiagalelei from Oregon State, who was just Clemson's quarterback a couple years ago. He's going to want to smack Clemson up. He brought his buddy, a defensive lineman from there that's really good. Like, we reaped the benefits more from a loss like that to Georgia in the bowl game than we would have from the national championship. And I will beat that point dead to this day. We are a better – well – not a better. We lost a lot in the draft. That's why a lot of people sat out, like Trey Benson and Keon Coleman and all of them. But Keon Coleman and the rest of them knew. I don't like when people or like players opt out, but I understand why they were probably upset, and I understand going against Georgia, who got beat by Alabama, who I think still would have won a national championship if they got put in. I just think that they were that good of a team. They didn't want to get their ass kicked on national championship by Georgia, who's been steaming, because they didn't make the college football playoff. This was a lose-lose situation for Florida State, and we just had to take the loss. So at the end of the day, I was sitting back with my arms crossed like, I'm not surprised. All those other teams are way more deserving to be in, and we had this was the best college football playoff that we ever had across the board. And it's just a shame that the Pac-12 had to go down with it, because this was their best year of football in 30 years. I mean, it was crazy that happened, but I know that's not a Pac-12 conversation, but that's the reason why. And a lot of Florida State fans are like, take your jersey off, blah, 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 blah. You're not a real Florida State fan. No, I'm just not a dick riding Florida State fan like you want me to be. I'm a realist at the end of the day, and I want to make sure that people understand where I'm coming from, because I feel like I had really good reasons, not only by the rules that said that we're not going to get in, but just realistically, when we look back on what happened, we reaped more benefits from not being on that game and having a championship caliber team this year than we would have by making the championship and never getting any of these players that would have came over, because it was up in the air if the Pac-12 was going to go out by that time and all the rest of this stuff. Jonathan Smith left Oregon State, so that's why DJ came over, but nobody knew that was coming, because Jonathan Smith was the alma mater of Oregon State. So why did he go to Michigan State? Because he knew the primetime conference in the Big Ten was right around the corner, and they had an opening. If Mel Tucker didn't do what he did, he still would have been their coach. But that's just how I feel about it, man. Like, yeah, I'm not upset. I'm still off the high of the 2013 national championship, where we were kicking everybody's ass and had the best freshman quarterback of all time, under center. So regardless if you like Jameis Winston or not, the dude was an absolute baller that year as a freshman and won the Heisman. So I'm good, man. I just want to see good football at the end of the day, and that's exactly what we got. So I came out happy. I didn't want Michigan to win, but I think it's because of their fans. And I'm not a big JJ McCarthy fan, but like,
Mitch, where you at, Mitch?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big JJ McCarthy fan on film, but like, their team was dominant. And when they play good teams, they continue to be dominant. And they had a weak schedule, and they just was like, whatever, we're going to go there and run through everybody. It was a great year of football last year. I absolutely can't complain about what happened. I just hope this year, conference-wise, that all those conferences stepped up like the Pac-12 did last year, and we'll have another great year of football.
Well, right now, I want to see what's going to happen with the ACC now that they, even though they still, with the lawsuit still going, but right now, Florida State and Clemson basically have been told, you're not coming to the Big Ten or the SEC until your legal situation is handled. And I can't see them.
That definitely should be true. You shouldn't be doing that until all their legal stuff is
Yeah,
done.
exactly, and that's the point. So, go
Well,
ahead,
what
Coach.
came out the other day, as well, is when the Florida District Attorney pulled the documents.
Mm-hmm.
Was that we found out that Disney has a hold on Florida State as well.
Oh wow.
So you take them out and put them in the Big 12, like where everybody thought we were going to go a couple of weeks ago. It's like, okay, the Big 12 was open. Clemson and Florida State are definitely going. But you can't tell me that Clemson is going to leave without Florida State. They're too attached to the hip. They're in this thing together now.
It
And if
doesn't
Florida
make
State,
sense. But to go to the Big 12 doesn't make sense.
it
That to
doesn't make
me
sense
is
to go to the Big 10 either. It's SEC is
well,
where we
in
need to
terms of
be.
economics. If you look at the economics associated where you can possibly, because the SEC and the Big 10, I'm right now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that within the next 5 years, they're going to be paying each school $100 million per year. You know,
Yeah.
because right now they're around what 75, 80, where the ACC and the Big 12 I think is at 35, and the ACC is around 42-ish, but it's also incentive based.
Yep.
So that's why, to me, to go to the Big 12 doesn't make sense. You're better off staying right where you're at right now. Now, if the ACC dissolved, then that changes the whole narrative and the whole discussion, which is
Facts.
not going to I can't see it happen because of what happened with the Pac-12. I just,
Yeah.
I can't see it happening right now. I know everyone talks about 20 team conferences, 2014 conferences. I get it. Coach Donardo even just said it, which I didn't realize. The Big Ten is in 45% of the households across the country. So, that makes them the only true national. I mean, you could say, no, the AAC is not national, even though they in Conference USA or not say national, coast to coast. That's the word I should be using. So, but getting back to Florida State and Clemson, I just can't see them leaving the ACC until that TV contract is done.
The best prediction that I have, if there's any movement, it's not going to get done for at least 2 years, because I think that's when they could start going to arbitration because of this whole thing. I think they're moving to be an independent school like Notre Dame, because they won't have any obligations with any networks. They'd be in a shared obligation when they play those teams, but they won't have a shared conference obligation like everybody else. So if that happens, I think that's not a bad idea until they can figure it out, and then both those teams get out of
You're
their
going to
legal
be hard
bounds.
pressed to get to because of the conferences going. A lot of them going 9 conference games, so you're going to be hard pressed to fill a schedule. I mean,
You'll be hard pressed to fill the schedule, and I don't think any ACC schools are going to want to schedule against us. Well, the ACC is going to tell them don't schedule against Florida State, so it would have to be. It could. So, but here's the other thing: it could work out in our favor if we play SEC and Big Ten teams, and both Clemson and Florida State win all those games. And let's say they go undefeated, because it's a 12-team playoff, and we're about to go over to a 14 here in 2 years. If they end up being undefeated, there's no way that you can't let them both in. So
no, exactly.
And that would be the biggest kick in the ACC's face right there.
Exactly.
And then the SEC and the Big Ten are going to come knocking hard.
No, of course they would. But once they're out and their legal issues are done, then you're going to look at it. But I'm going to say this, Anthony. I disagree with that statement. And because people that say to me about Rutgers, because I'm a big Rutgers Scarlet Knight fan, and they're like, well, Rutgers would get cut. I said, no, they're not. I said, first and foremost, Rutgers brings something that no other conference can bring to. I mean, that no other school can bring to a conference. They have the number one, and they have the Philly market that is tied to them. They're doing well with recruiting. They're not going to get cut. Maryland is not going to get cut because they have that Maryland, Baltimore region. And the Big Ten is right now about TV markets. That's why they went and got UCLA and USC, because now they have New York, LA, Chicago, Philly, along with the other, Michigan with Detroit, out west with Seattle, those TV markets, which it's about the Big Ten network. and that's where that money comes from. And the university presidents see this and they understand that. Now, if you're saying schools are going to come in and cut from that, that's an issue. That's where Florida State. I'm gonna be honest with you. In terms of TV market, what do they bring to the table? You want to say Miami? They bring the Miami and Southern Florida, and then of course you got recruiting along with that. North Carolina is in a tough situation because of all the political ties. Because now they have to bring, I believe it's North Carolina State. Everyone thought it was going to be Duke, but no, it's North Carolina State and North Carolina. Those two have to be tied in together. So now you're talking about the political aspect, which is going to push them to the side. Same thing with Virginia, because everyone initially I thought, okay, those markets, you have that, you add that TV market into the Big Ten, that's financially, but no, you also have the political aspect that's tied to, North Carolina, Virginia, that's going to force them. Florida State, the question is the TV market, because they're in Tallahassee, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
not a big TV market in terms of that. So I'm not saying they don't, Anthony. I'm not saying they don't bring the North Carolina. Well, yes, they would bring it because of the state. So, in terms of TV, the Big Ten would say, yeah, they would be able to attack the North Carolina market in terms of TV if you just brought North Carolina for the state. Same thing with Virginia. You could say, okay, you're bringing Richmond. What's the other big? Well, Richmond is not that major. What's the other?
Charlotte.
Yeah, no, it's Charlotte in North Carolina. I was trying to figure out with Virginia. They were talking about it last year. So, but yeah, now if you're forced to bring North Carolina and North Carolina State, then no, you're not going to bring that because it's two teams fighting for the same TV market. Where for Rutgers, oh yeah, Charlottesville. Yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah, you got
one.
Norfolk, you got Richmond, you got Alexandria. Those are like the three biggest ones in Virginia.
So you would want one school from the state because it gives you that TV market, as opposed to bringing in. That's why you didn't see Washington State and Oregon State come into the Big Ten, because they already said it doesn't make sense to bring them in because they're going to take away in those schools. Washington and Oregon said they're going to take half cuts, half pay to come into right away, and
Washington's only going to be in the Big Ten 1 year unless they get their contract renewed.
University of Washington.
Mm-hmm. They only on a 1 year deal with the Big Ten.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, they could up and move. It's a lot of weird stuff that happened during that wasn't like out there publicized. Here's the other thing too, to add on to what Coach is saying. The reason why, and you can call this a conspiracy theory all you want, but the NCAA has told that there's rules around conferences. You can only have up to 20 teams. The biggest conferences only have 18 at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the Big Ten and SEC only have 18.
No,
So they're leaving spot. Yeah, it's something like that. They're very close.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why they're leaving space open, because they could go out and they could have grabbed, the Big Ten could have went and grabbed Washington State and Oregon State if they really wanted it to. It makes all the sense. Both of the other schools are going over there, and that's their, the two biggest rivals. But they're trying to see what's happening. Florida State and Clemson clear every other school that's available to go grab right now. It just is what it is. The markets are too big. We got recent championships. Miami hasn't won in a long time, so they're the other one. But if you're talking about North Carolina, that's basketball, and nobody's gonna make your team come over to, a basketball school is not gonna have any a lot of pull when it comes to a conference.
Hold on a second. Okay, I'm gonna have to check this out. So I'm going to have to look into that. So when we get to the baseball, but I mean that's interesting. But here's one other kicker, though: the Big Ten. Then, based on what you just said, the Big Ten only has one spot. Other one for the mighty Notre Dame. And I know there's that theory Notre Dame is not going to sign, but if you start fracturing these conferences, Notre Dame is going to end up being forced to join a conference, and guess what? And also, don't forget the Big Ten is already aligned with NBC, which is who also gives Notre Dame their TV contract. So it would make better sense to join into the Big Ten eventually, and that's what's going to happen. But I'm going to say this, Coach: if the NCAA is saying only 20 teams, and the ACC does get fractured, then that's just going to force the SEC and the Big Ten to separate themselves from college football and do their own
I
thing.
I absolutely agree. I think in the next 5 years, this is just my prediction. I think I told you about this. There's some other entity that's going to come out of nowhere that goes to these schools and say, "We embrace NIL. We embrace whatever you want to do with NIL. We embrace the players to be empowered to do whatever they want." Now, we got money to throw whatever news outlet, whatever sports outlet that you want to go to. Just say the word. We'll reach out to them. We'll make the deal happen. Our lawyers are strong enough to do it, and we'll pay. And we'll give you a loan of X amount of dollars right now to strengthen your programs. Pay us back over the next 10 to 15 years, but you're part of our organization now. You think schools are going to say no? There's too many restrictions in the NCAA. It's the black eye of collegiate sports. It just is. It's just like when Madden comes out every single year. There's no competition for Madden. So Madden, you know what they're going to do? They're going to be watered down until they have competition. Competition makes everything better. It just does.
My understanding is everyone is going away from Madden now to the college football spectrum.
Well, yeah, that's competition right now too. It's a good game. I mean, but you see, Madden's going to start changing its tone now because it's like, oh shit, it's a. Whenever there's competition around that threatens your biggest IPs or your biggest teams or biggest companies, how many have them combined? Or how many of them go somewhere else and do their own thing? It happens all the time. Like it just does, man.
Hey, halftime. Hey, halftime. That's my championship ring. Why you got my championship ring up for it?
I'm taking your ring, damn it. No, I steal rings around here.
Yeah,
Tennessee Volunteers baseball ring?
No. That's my minor league semi-pro. That's our dynasty ring because
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's from when we first came out. Our first 3 years, 3 championships, national championship. It's just most people don't care about minor league semi-pro football, but we did, and no one's ever in our area. No one's ever done what we did when we first came out, and literally, I'm just proud of it. We our first couple of years. First of all, the name of our team is called was the Terminators. So we just came out to terminate your ass. That was our saying. So, and literally our first year, our average win was 47 points per game. We were averaging 40 in terms of being. It was always 47 points. When we went to the championship, we were the number 2 teams. We had to go to Connecticut to play the number 1 team, in our league, and in the region. I think they were number 6, and we kicked their butts 42-0 on their home field for the championship. So, and everyone said, "Oh, damn, this team is legitimate." So, and then next 2 years, we won championships and just totally dominated. So, but that's where that comes from. So, and then that's why I use it and I love it. So, but let's move on to start closing this out in terms of questions. There's one question that I always like to ask everyone that I interview, and it's a little silly one, but what's your favorite dance move?
Oh, I don't do too much dancing.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, but let me see. I don't know, man.
Really does a lot of dancing. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I get down from time to time.
Dante do the robot.
Yeah, Now you know the wobble, man. We get down with the wobble at events. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always a
Okay,
classic.
okay,
You know what I'm saying?
okay.
But I don't actively go around my house dancing like Mary Poppins and
I
stuff.
got you. I got you. I
But
Yeah,
got
yeah,
you.
you
that's
do.
that.
And you
But
ain't
that's
no
all. That,
drivers. You always dancing.
but
That's
that's
all the
always a
truth.
classic one, man. That's always a
Mhm.
classic one.
All right. Now I know you watch this show from time to time.
Yep.
What has been your take on our show so far?
It's good, man. Bringing other people on, talking about the topics nobody's willing to talk about, and giving your honest opinion, I think is very admirable for any show.
Hmm.
Being your authentic self, because I think there's a lot of people that try to be others, or like halftime is like, I'm not the expert. I'm just the guy that likes to go to the bar and drink a beer and talk sports, like,
Hmm.
and that's cool. Coach, on your end too, it's when you guys are talking about life, I know you guys are talking about your kids and how you raise your
Hmm.
kids. To a guy like me that I don't have kids right now, hopefully, me and my wife can bear a child here soon, but you know, it's one of those things where I try to take back where I'm not an expert in anything, and I
Hmm.
try to always take everybody's feedback from their life experience too. So out of everything, that's one thing I would encourage you guys to like keep doing.
Hmm.
Um, and just being able to talk, to talk about those things that people don't want to talk about. Because I know this is beyond sports. You guys made that very clear. I've been watching it. If I'm not in the comment section, I'm one of those guys that watch every single episode, and here's how I'll say that, because the very first episode that you guys did, you guys
Hmm.
are like, this is not just about sports. This is about life. This is about all the other stuff.
Hmm.
It's two guys that a little bit more in age than the younger guys, but we wanted to give you guys spit game back to you guys. You guys said that from the very first episode, and you've done that,
Hmm.
almost every single show so far. So
We know. Shout out to Blaze Radio. We're two old farts. That's what it is. We're two old farts. So he said, "Yeah, you guys are two old farts." So and then yeah, we like it. So
yeah,
and I embrace that.
I feel like this, like when I'm doing film reviews for like the high school kids, and I know
Hmm.
the coaches that I know and stuff like that. Like, I like the fact that this show's around, because you guys are embracing the fact that there's a lot of knowledge out there that a lot of people don't know about life itself, or about sports, or a different way to think about it. Because you hear the same regurgitated shit over and over again, right? But
Hmm.
the fact that we kind of have to step back, like even at my age, like I'm not in high school. I'm not playing anymore. Like I'm about to be in my mid 30s here soon, and I have a lot of knowledge that I can give back to other kids. Like, what's the point of having all this knowledge to myself if I'm not able to give it back, or at least to help somebody else out? Like we just talked about Skip Bayless, for example.
Hmm.
He he pretends that he's been doing this,
Hmm.
but he really wants to have the trophy at the top of the trophy case as well. So, um, I know sometimes it may come off like that on our shows, or like certain people may come off like that, but really and truly at the end of the day, like the stuff that you guys do, or that I've been doing behind the scenes, and helping other people out, that's really what it's about at the end of the day, man. I know it's so easy to pump your chest and not to admit your mistakes, but it really does take a man to reach out and apologize to those people, or apologize to the situation, and do stuff like that. And that's what you guys are giving back to a guy like me that's not your age, and I'm older. I'm in my, I would say, your 30s are your prime, right? But I'm trying to embrace that, but also I'm not what I was a couple years ago. I'm not what I was
Hmm.
when I was 18 or 21. So
Hmm.
um, I got to, I appreciate shows like this that help me through those situations too. So, I'll always be a listening ear for somebody that's speaking. Um, and yeah, that's just, you asking me my opinion on the show. That's just what I get from it, man. So
Okay.
I would
Appreciate
say
that.
continue to do what you guys do.
All right. So now we're going to transition over to little sports. And being that, this is one area that you were proficient on. So we're going to dive into some NFL news. So,
Yep.
um, and I'm going to start out with the mighty Cowboys and Dak Prescott. The impact to the Cowboys if he were to leave after this season. What do you guys think would be his impact to the Dallas Cowboys? Go,
Um,
I'm sorry. Go ahead and start.
yeah. So the impact to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm
Mhm.
dyslexic,
Wait,
man.
Cowboy.
How does that happen to your brain? You switch the first two letters of a word around for two different. That's crazy. Um, I think that Broncos fan or oh my gosh, Dallas Cowboys fans are going to feel the impact very very heavy because at the end of the day, I think that Dak Prescott gets disrespected a lot, and it's because the Cowboys are a hot commodity, and they're the ones that out of any team get the microscope put on them the most. And whether it be for their owner, whether it be for the antics in the past, it's like that. And we all have to acknowledge that too. But to
Mhm.
say that Dak Prescott is not at least a top 12 quarterback on your anybody's quarterback list is kind of outrageous for what he's done. I mean, last year he was pretty much an MVP candidate. Just go look at the numbers, like, and not having a consistent weapon last year in Tony Pollard, not having Dalton Schultz there anymore, really only having one receiver that was consistent in CD Lamb. You know what I'm saying? Like, and having an aging offensive line as well. Like, Zach
Mhm.
Martin's not there anymore. Like, there's a lot that you could go and say that this is an excuse of what I can give for Dak Prescott, but they're all legitimate. It's just how when I talk about Daniel Jones, like, I think he's one of the most hated quarterbacks, but has dealt with the most controversy in the league, but nobody wants to list those things out. They just want to say he sucks. Okay, well, it's a lot easier to game plan for Daniel Jones, who has a ton of tape out there, versus Tommy Cutlets that's coming in for you guys, or
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to not expect that from those guys because you don't have any tape on them, and coach, out of everybody, tape is so important. It has to be. We used to say this: practice is 50%, tape is the other 50. If we don't have those things to line up, we're not going to have any success because you got to be as studious in the classroom as you are on the field.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that get pointed out that you don't psychologically see the first time around, so you got to keep watching. But I think to go back to Dak Prescott, like, if they don't have Dak and they don't have somebody of his caliber to fill in, the Cowboys are the fourth best team in that conference or in that division. To be honest, they to finish second in your division every single year is not a fluke. Like, he's a big part of that. So you take him away from that, Jerry, good luck because you got lucky finding an actual good quarterback to fill in for Tony Romo. And I feel like Tony Romo was to go off to another team during his stint, he would have been pretty good elsewhere too. I mean, it just is what it is. So if you take away your fandom and your hate for the Cowboys, you look at it like that. It just and without the hater blockers on,
Mhm.
look at the stats and look at the way that Dak Prescott plays. Yeah, he might not have won a lot of playoff games, but do they get there? Yes. And are they a big reason why he gets there? Yes. So it's a team sport at the end of the day. And coach, we talk about that all the time. Like,
Mhm.
team sport. If it came down to one person, it's not fair. It just is what it is. But being a quarterback and getting paid all the money, it's totally what puts the hater blockers on for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, we know that. I mean, other than Patrick Mahomes, everyone, most quarterbacks get the hate. So, what about you, halftime? What's your thoughts about if he leaves Dallas?
Um, I totally agree with Coach Dante. I mean, like, and I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but be honest with you, Dak Prescott is better than Kirk Cousins. Dak Prescott is better than Tua in Miami. So, and this is the day. I don't want Dak. I think I'll say in the when football starts that Dak is ass and he's garbage, and it's just because of I'm a hating of the Dallas Cowboys. But right now, if let's say Dak goes to the Giants, well, the Giants just got a whole lot better. I'm just saying the Giants would have got a whole lot better, and then like Coach Dante said, the Dallas Cowboys would drop so much if they lose. It doesn't matter where Dak would go; they would just lose so much because everything's built around that. But also, you got Michael Parsons. You have CeeDee Lamb, and Jerry's not gonna pay them all. Be honest. See what happens. But is Dak is better than people say they are just because everybody hates the Dallas Cowboys. But give the man credit where credit is due. His stats, his numbers tell you otherwise.
And halftime. Can I back this up for you real quick? So 7 years, right? Guess how many losing seasons while he was starting and healthy that they had, like losing records.
It was two.
It was one.
Okay.
Only one losing season while he was playing.
Well, it is part of that 8-8 because I think he had an 8-8 season in there that was under
yeah, he did have an 8-8 season, but I don't necessarily consider that a losing season because it's 500 and up.
Yeah, it's 500. It's not a win. It's not a lose. It's like a tie. So I get it.
I mean, I think he's better than Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. Hold on,
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence.
Thank you.
I will give Dak credit. I mean, I like Trevor Lawrence, but I think Dak is better than Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence actually step up to the plate and actually throw and be like Dak Prescott. And I hate you guys got me hating talking about somebody I hate. And it's weird, but yeah, his stats tell you different.
Trevor Lawrence never had a 10-win season. In the first 4 seasons that Dak Prescott had, which is as many as what Trevor Lawrence has played, he had a 13 and 10-win season and has had 4 winning season in his 7-year career. I'm sorry, 4 over 10-win seasons since he's been in the league. So, I mean, take it at what it is. Like, people are not consistent. They say quarterbacks are the reason why we lose. But then when it comes to this argument, then they want to say, oh, it's the team. It's a team. No, homie. You can't have it both ways. It's either you put the blame on the quarterback all the way or you put all the praise on the quarterback when they win, too. Like, that's what they get caught up in that argument, too. It's like, no. But the film says otherwise, man. He's not. It's like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. He's not great. He's not generational. Dak is teetering between good and great. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback, but will he get you some wins? Is he above average? Will he utilize his weapons? CeeDee Lamb doesn't get better in the last 3 years by himself. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest. If you had Dak Prescott go to the 49ers, I think Dak would be great. I think his stats would show you greatness. But he's not going there. We'll be honest. But because that's, like you guys said, it's a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
And he will have the weapons he needs. He don't have the weapons he needs in Dallas. He don't have the offensive line. He don't have the wide receiver help, the tight end help. You know what I mean?
If Dak and Kirk Cousins were in the Jaguars last year, we would have been deep in the playoffs.
You don't have a coach that can actually get them there.
See, now that's where I was going to go, because if you let Dak Prescott go, I personally believe Mike McCarthy's gone.
Oh, yeah.
And the question is, if you think you're getting Bill Belichick to come down there, you're fooling yourself. Because you need to really build up that roster, because you're going to be losing so many pieces. And just like you said, you're basically going to end up paying your wide receiver and your star defensive player top end money. But now you're going to have to rely, honestly, on a young or cheap quarterback, whether it's a rookie or, some journeyman. And good luck with that. Go get Josh Dobbs and, go ahead and compete in the division and in the conference alone. And then the next question, like I said, who's going to be the coach? Because that's going to be a big factor. That's going to be big to everything in terms of Dallas. That's why, and Dak holds the cards, man. He holds the cards and he knows it. And Jerry's going to have to pay him $60 to $65 million.
Yeah, so, but like here's another point. Like Jerry Jones doesn't like the coach do the shopping. So, you know what I mean? Like, if you get rid of Dak, what coach is going to come in here and say, all right, what quarterback am I getting? You know, you're you're just not going to give me some goddamn guy from
So,
Walmart to start being the quarterback.
um, Tommy, Dak Prescott is definitely better right now than Purdy, in my opinion.
Oh
Purdy is
hell
still a good talent, but he's a good quarterback, but he is also a product of that system and the talent that surrounds him. You know, Dak Prescott doesn't. That's the point. If you put Dak Prescott, like halftime is saying, in that San Francisco offense, you would see a different quarterback.
yeah,
You really would.
you would
And if
see a
you put Brock
dominating.
Purdy, if you're saying that he's so good, put him on Dallas offense. Is that offense going to still be the same?
And
No.
Dak has had multiple coordinators and multiple head coaches at this point in time that nobody wants. You have to consider that in his maturation process. That can either make or break quarterbacks, and he's been pretty consistent when he's healthy. Now, that I mean, I agree with you, Coach. Like, I disagree with you about the quarterback thing. Like, who's better? Like, I think Brock Purdy's just a little better, but not by a whole lot. But I can't argue with you on the fact that the biggest anchor is Kyle Shanahan's offense. Now, if you put Dak on the 49ers, do they win the Super Bowl last year? Maybe.
Mhm. Well, no,
Um,
no, 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 because they lost
I'm,
it. They lost that because the head coach. They might have won it if the head coach in overtime didn't take the ball first. I mean,
yeah,
let's be real. I mean,
that was
that's the
and,
argument. So Purdy might have won the Super Bowl last year. So I have to be fair with that. But yes, to
yeah.
your argument, yes, maybe
And
during the course of the game, they that puts them in position to win during during the regular part of the game. So
And Tommy said something about look up all the stats Purdy has down. First, he's got 2 years that we're judging off of Dak's 7, so I don't think that's fair. And then also, if Dak Prescott had Debo Samuel, Brandon
mhm.
Ayuk,
yeah.
George Kittle, one of the best offensive lines, and the best tackle in Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and one of probably the best defense
Best
in the league,
defense. Thank you.
bro. Like
There's a
I love
difference.
stats, but there is a huge difference, bro. you
Yes.
could,
There's a difference. Tommy, like I said, I'm not a Dak Prescott fan, but you gotta give the man credit where credit is due, and I always will be like that. You got if you put him on a different team, he'd be way better.
and Kirk Cousins is the same way. When you said that, that's exactly who I compared Dak to. If Kirk Cousins was on the Jaguars last year and didn't get hurt, we're in the
Yep.
AFC Championship game. I don't care what nobody says. That dude was excellent with the Vikings, and Vikings fans did. They were 13-4. And the only reason they lost those 4 games is because they had the 31st worst defense in the National
Yes.
Football League in 2022. So, like, it's like the buck stops there, man. Like, your team is very dependent on both sides of the football. And the one thing that me and Coach know, if you have a really good special teams too, that matters as well. All 3 phases of the game have to equally, as much as you could equally matter to a team, is the ones that win championships. And guess what? San Francisco had as a kick and punt returner, Debo Samuel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And a really good kicker and punter. Like, it all matters, man. And like Coach said,
All matter.
it was a coaching blunder by Kyle Shanahan, man. So I mean, it's your opinion at the end of the day, but like, whenever you don't consider that into anything, it's crazy. It's like when Kirk says he can't win in prime time, but that 13-4 season he had 8 comeback wins. Like, come on.
Tommy, I get what you're saying, but Purdy, what I'm interpreting and what I'm feeling you're saying is that the 49ers win because of Brock Purdy. They're a good team or a great team because of Brock Purdy, not because he's a product of the sums around him. I mean, and that's a fact. I mean, Coach Dante just broke down the talent that's around Purdy. that's almost like the Steelers did back when Ben Roethlisberger first came in as a rookie, as a young player. He won his Super Bowl as a young quarterback because he had so much talent on ball in all phases, as well as a great coach.
And the great coach, and also just like when Ray Lewis was on the Baltimore Ravens and they won. They knew that was Ray Lewis's last year. They knew that was Jerome Bettis' last year too. So inspiration around teams matters, man. They step up to another level. And here's going to kill your other argument right here. Who was the quarterback when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl a couple years before this one? Jimmy Garoppolo. So what coach is saying about the system, it matters, man. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is just a middle of the road quarterback. He's as mid as they come. And he took him to the Super. And Jimmy Garoppolo was pretty good that playoff run too. Like
everybody was looking at Jimmy like, "Oh wow, where did this come from?" But it was really the system.
Yeah, so I guess Jimmy's better than Dak too.
I mean, like you're going to get the people that don't like Dak Prescott. I get it.
No, I get it. I hate Dallas. I hate Dallas too.
I don't like the Dallas Cowboys. But if you put Dak in a different uniform, he would be better. And if you just got to take the hate away, and Coach Dante's right, if you take the blinders and take the hatred away, like I said, he's better than Kirk Cousins. He's better than, he would be better on a different team.
If you were born with 5,000 playbooks in front of you and your borderline Hall of Fame dad was like, this is how you coach football, you would be pretty damn good too. Because if you think about all the coaches that were coaches before and their sons have been really damn good, it's because they were thrown that at birth. Like, Coach was right about that. Like, it's the system, man. Like, I mean, your opinion is your opinion, but like when you're making statements like that, you really have to come with the complete package. Because like I said, you're either a stats guy that ignore the situation or you're a situational guy that ignore the stats. And it's got to be right down the middle. That's not how we coach. You know what I'm saying? If my quarterback throws 500 yards and 6 touchdowns in the game and the game is 49-48 and we win, guess what the biggest glaring issue is? What did our defense do to allow 48 points?
Yep.
It's not a reflection on our quarterback. I mean, yeah, he played out of his mind, but then I'm going to go to the quarterback. I'm going to go to who he threw the touchdowns to. Like, you got to give credit where credit is due, man. Like, it's way too many factors in that argument against Purdy versus Dak. But you can't say that if you put Dak on the 49ers that he wouldn't be better than he was last year. Jesus, man. Christian McCaffrey was the offensive player of the year, bro. Yeah. That was probably the best two-way performance that we've seen since LaDainian Tomlinson when he had like over 2,000, 2,000 yards and like 30 touchdowns or something like that. It's hard.
If you had Dak Prescott on the 49ers, I mean, what? Ayuk and Deebo Samuel both get over 1,000 and passing, and Kittle's going to get over 1,000. He would just light it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
Tommy.
That's
Tommy, listen to me. I am going to send it. I was just waiting till halftime and Coach finished.
I'm finished.
Now I'm going to send the link. This is only for Tommy. I'm not going to bring anyone else on. So Tommy, I just said I'm going to put the link in the chat. Relax. I just said it. So, look, you're going to be able to come up and say your piece. I'm not going to be bringing everyone up because I still have other topics to discuss. So I don't want it to get it into a long, drawn-out debate. So here's the link, Tommy. Go right ahead. Tap in.
Damn. I gotta push that button.
Tommy's cool. Tommy's cool. Trust me, he's cool. That's family. That's family. I have no issues with Tommy. I love Tommy to death. So, even though he lives in disgusting Houston, Texas.
That's
the disgusting Astros. the disgusting Astros, the cheaters.
Cheaters over here. We got the cheaters again.
Man, that's crazy that they
Nah.
didn't take their trophy away for that. That's nasty work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
but you can't take it away. Then who are you going to give it to?
And Astros still
That's-
get their trophy, and
Because you can't give it to the Yankees because the Yankees didn't get to the World Series. So, so it's kind of a, now if you say vacated, I don't think baseball wants to do that.
you
Yeah.
gotta at least put an Astro next to it.
I don't know
put
too
an
much
Astro-
about baseball, but like everything I read on that, man, I was like, geez, this is glaring.
Oh, God, you got to come on. Now you putting up
Health
the
and wealth.
Lakers, man. All right,
Look,
all right.
health and wealth to all, man. This is
Yeah,
all
what's
I'm
up,
saying.
Tommy?
Check this out. I used to play with Tommy Harris, Texas football over here.
Mhm.
Tommy Harris, Chicago Bears, Super Bowl, almost winner. Choklahoma, unfortunately. He should have went to UT, but he went to Choklahoma. So I played with Tommy Harris. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We played against RG3. You see what I'm saying? Copper's Cove,
Mhm.
Nate. So
I played against
when I know
Tavon
about
Austin.
the lens of football, I just want to say this. The lens of football is when you look at Purdy as a rookie and what he did, other than what Stroud did, because my Houston Texans Stroud, that's something else. He's gonna be MVP. He's gonna show y'all amazing things his second year. But we're gonna talk about Purdy. Your boy Shanahan has had multiple systems that have multiple quarterbacks
Mhm.
succeed in many levels and not get what Purdy has done in the same system. This is a man that's been doing this for how many years? You see what I'm saying? For us, it's plus 40. We've seen plenty of football. We've seen plenty of legends.
Mhm.
Joe Montana's undefeated. He should be in the conversation of one of the greats, right?
I always
Yeah.
say
But
that.
unfortunately, they too busy talking about Brady. But Joe Montana, I just said, is undefeated.
Mhm.
The LeBron conversation and Jordan's undefeated. He took out teams. He took out leagues. Jordan would average 60 in his puppy child NBA era. You understand what I'm telling you? So back to this different football, because it ain't the same getting clotheslined and you can't touch the quarterback. You can't even
Mhm.
hit the receiver when he come across the line. You
Mhm.
see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I
Yeah.
can't I can't get physical with you. You caught the
Mhm.
ball. I can't knock your block off. I got to do it a certain way. Okay, it's cool. I'm with everybody's health first. You see what I'm saying? And whatever
Mhm.
wealth comes along with it. Now, when I talk about Purdy and Dak Prescott, Dak is a good player. He's a good quarterback. I didn't call him trash. Dak is more on the Houston Hurts level. Houston hurts. I'm from H-Town. Been watching this boy win since he been right across the bridge right here. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And this is high school. So back to Houston hurts against Dak. That's more of a conversation to have. They both been in the league a little bit of time. They got different. Houston Hurts has had what? How many coordinators over there? They done had about 8 offensive coordinators for him. Who knows how many, right? Dak's only
Mhm.
had maybe what, 4 or 5 different ones. It's been
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 different ones. That ain't what Jones has had. But back to Purdy. Purdy, fresh in the league, Mr. Irrelevant. Not even, I ain't even supposed to make this. You hear me? Don't nobody believe in me.
Mhm.
But great scouting and great play calling and situational awareness from the top ownership down to whoever's sweeping up the toilets. It's all a situational awareness. A toilet stopped up while the game on, you need to go get on it. My players dehydrated, cramping up, the trainers need to get on it. We getting killed by the defense all day long. They blitzing all day long. Let me go ahead and get in 12 and 13 personnel, help that O-line with some tight ends and chip it and run it out and play action it out. However, we're going to play this chess game. Now back to Purdy. Y'all keep saying this great system, this great, he did that without McCaffrey. McCaffrey wasn't there, he did that. So McCaffrey just got there. So what I'm saying is this great Shanahan of a coach, and he's this. He also choked when he was up against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Them Patriots was not supposed to come back and win that. There was no way in the world that if me and this panel are coaching, there's no way in the world we're gonna allow a choke job from Shanahan in the second half as a Falcon. There's just no way. But he did that, right? Okay, look at it again. What Super Bowls happened again? Oh, they were dominating the Chiefs the first Super Bowl round against the Chiefs. Oh, it was 2 3/4 of domination, wasn't it? I mean, I seen it. I'm sure y'all seen it too, right?
Can I correct you
Oh,
real
and then
quick? He didn't play without Christian McCaffrey ever. Christian
what?
McCaffrey got traded at before the halftime or the trade deadline, and he didn't start until the last fifth week of the season. So he only came
However
in
it
at
went.
like week
Hey,
13. So he's played with him his
however it
whole
went,
time.
it's a rookie. It's a rookie doing it with a new regime. This is his first time doing it, and he's looking nice like Stroud was looking nice. But what's Dak doing? Dak been in the league 20 plus years, damn near. He already about to get the veteran. He better get this bag because if he don't get this bag, he gonna get up in age and they ain't gonna want to pay him. I think he deserves his money. They should have paid him a long time ago. He should have been inked in like a 5 6 year deal, on an extension on number 2 probably by now. But back to Purdy. So your boy Shanahan, he's up on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So what's your answer to that? Since you got all the answers, right? Since you got that answer for this and that, what's the answer for you with what your eyes seen in the Super Bowl, the first go round against the Chiefs, when the Niners were dominant for quarters? It wasn't no 2 3 minute spurts in the quarter. It wasn't no halftime. No, it was some quarters they were dominating that one. So what's your answer to how did the Chiefs
Dominant.
end up winning that game?
Okay,
Is
what's
you
your
have
when you say dominant, Tommy? When you say dominant, explain to me your
when
definition
I'm
of
talking
dominant in
dominant.
football.
Okay, I'm gonna explain it. When I'm talking dominant is when Patrick, my homie Jordan, another Texas gunslinger, because I'm from Texas, so that's all we know. Big Texas football. So the gunslinger, because y'all just had a Super Bowl, the battle of the Texas gunslingers, right? My homie Jordan against Houston Hurts. You remember that? Ain't nobody want to talk about that though. But anyway, so when Patrick, my homie Jordan, is the Jordan of football at such a young, tender age that he is, and so many great moments that he has had as a young, tender player, because he's nowhere near seasoned yet, right? He already got how many belts up under him, right? He got them already there. When you're going against the so-called greatest already, the one that's dominating, doing the oohs and ahs, whether it's people who stat watch, like you were trying to call me, I don't stat watch, I watch the game. The stats is just factual information about the game. The game has many components. Situational football and awareness, or in any sport, is the most critical thing. Is situational awareness. How to put your players in the right place, how to put the right roster out there, how to develop your talent, how to match up against whoever you're going against, how to scheme it. So all that, it goes with the awareness of the sport. So situational awareness in football is how I judge football. So when I'm watching the Super Bowl once again against the greatest quarterback already being proclaimed by all the greats, all the news medias, all the players, all the coaches, they're saying Patrick, my homie Jordan, is the best. He is the greatest. So, like I said, when you're dominant in the first couple quarters of a Super Bowl against this so-called great, like the Niners were for the first couple quarters of that first meeting in the Super Bowl, that first time, it was a dominant performance. My,
Tommy,
my
you still
homie
haven't
Jordan,
answered
look,
my
my homie
question.
Jordan didn't look. He didn't even
When you
have
look
over
at the
200
box score, it
yards.
wasn't dominant. Nobody scored over 10 points in any quarter.
Yeah.
But you
So
haven't
that
answered
so
my
so
question in
go
the
ahead and say
terms
it
of
again.
the.
Hey, go ahead and repeat yourself. Nobody scored what? Go ahead
Nobody
and
scored
repeat
over
yourself.
10 points in
So that
any
means
quarter.
that the
That
number
wasn't a
one
dominant
scorer
performance.
in the NFL, the number one. So you make it. Hey man, you thank you for cheerleading for me because that's what you're doing. You're making my point even more valid. What you're saying is nobody barely scored. So that means the number one quarterback. To your point, just I'm gonna backpack what you just said. Let me backpack what you said. Nobody scored all that. Once again, that sounds like the dominance of a team. That sounds like we're going against a juggernaut. And Patrick, my homie Jordan, that puts up numbers, he puts up everything, he makes everybody great because he just won a Super Bowl with some of the worst receivers ever. He just won a Super
Tommy,
Bowl with Kelsey
Tommy,
and some trash receivers.
Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. I asked you for your definition of the word dominant.
And I just
You
gave it
haven't.
to
You
you, and
haven't.
I'm giving it to you. So if you hear me out, if a player like my homie Jordan is considered to be unstoppable and has shown it through the season to go against juggernaut teams, Ravens, Bills, all types of teams, and he's being effective the way he is with no smudge on his record because he's sitting there continually elevating when the lights show the brightest. So what I'm saying is when a team like the little old Niners with little old Brock Purdy with a little at the time it was
Can I
Jimmy
interject real quick?
with
The 49ers have been in multiple NFC championships and Super Bowls over the last 10 years. They've been a dominant team. So what are we talking about?
when it comes to Purdy, my conversation is about Purdy. We talked about Purdy to begin with.
Well, you just
If he
contradicted
says,
yourself
what
from
do
what
I
you just said
consider
before.
dominance? What I consider dominance is when Jimmy went against Purdy, they held him to a whole check and then ended up losing it because of situational awareness
Okay.
from the coach. And
Let
then
me
this next
clarify.
time around,
Tommy, let me clarify something because I guess maybe what I'm saying is not coming through. Okay. I'm asking for a definition. Okay. I'm pulling up the Webster dictionary for the word dominant: commanding, controlling, prevailing over others, very important, powerful, and successful, overlooking and commanding from a superior position.
so I got
Now
a question to I got
you
a question to
said,
you.
wait a
Just for
minute, Tommy.
everything you
Wait
just
a minute,
said.
wait a minute,
Look,
wait a minute,
my
wait a minute, wait a
question
minute,
to
wait a
you is
minute.
this. Well, what you just said, if we're the coaching staff for the Niners going against with Jimmy, we got Jimmy Garoppolo. We got Jimmy Garoppolo. He ain't no good. He got us here. We done schemed it to where we in the Super Bowl right now against the Chiefs. So you telling me that them couple of quarters, well, just like he just said, nobody was really doing too much. It was a game that was dominated defensively. You and I, are we saying we dominated? Right? We're going to look at our players and we're going to say, let's continue to dominate this game.
But your
Right?
initial statement was that the 49ers were dominating the Chiefs. That means you're totally controlling
And
all phases.
okay, let's go. Look, let's go to this game, this last Super Bowl. The
That's what
Chiefs.
we're talking
Look,
about.
look,
This
look.
Super
I'm talking
Bowl.
Yeah,
about
you
both
just
of them.
told me not to go back in the
I'm talking
past, and
about
then
both of them. Look,
I don't
I'm talking
understand.
I'm
about
not
both
talking. All right, Tommy,
situations.
we're going all over the place, and this is what I was afraid of.
No,
All
no,
right,
no. We're
because the
talking. No,
main
no.
point.
It ain't
Hold on,
all over the
hold on a
place.
minute, Tommy. Is that it started out as far as Dak Prescott. What would happen if Dak left the Cowboys? And then
And my
you were talking
conversation of
about
that was
Purdy.
he
You were
can't
talking
sniff
about
Purdy.
Purdy,
He
and we
can't
even
sniff him.
said we even said if you took. I said to you, if you took Purdy, because you didn't even answer that question. I said if you because what I said, my Coach Ed's interpretation from everything you're saying is that the 49ers were winning because of Brock Purdy.
So if you take Purdy
Not
off
because he's a sum of the parts
if you
around
take
him.
look his rookie season and his Super Bowl season, you take Purdy off of that team, do they make it to where they go?
If you put Dak Prescott there, yeah, that's what we're saying.
This is
But
the point we're
look,
saying.
y'all
We're
look, hold on. Look. Just like y'all said, Dak didn't have this, that, and the third. Dak had the number one O-line. Dak had a
No,
great
he
running
no,
didn't.
he
back.
did.
Hold on.
When?
San
Let's talk about it.
Francisco's
Hold
number
on.
one.
Cowboys have the number one
No, all
overall.
right. We need to stop.
We're
We need
talking
to
about
stop.
Dak and Purdy, right? We're talking about Dak and Purdy and what they have available. Dak didn't have a bum ass team.
Nobody
I
said he
don't
had a bum ass
look.
team,
He
but
didn't say
Just
he had
hold
a bum
on.
ass
What
team,
I'm
but he had
saying is,
nothing.
look, this is what I'm trying to get y'all to see. Dak is coming from a good situation. It could be
we all
comparable
agreed to
to
that,
look,
Tommy.
that
We
situation
all
could
agreed to
almost
that,
be
Tommy. You're
compared to
going
What are we
around in
doing here?
circles
almost
and
be
you're putting
compared to
words
the
in our
Doesn't make
mouths.
sense. This doesn't make
You're
sense,
putting
bro.
words in our
how
mouths, and
if every beginning of year, everybody's all the experts, right? Everybody
yes, you're
like
right.
yourself, coaches and everybody, they're
Everybody
saying the
reps up the
Cowgirls got a good
Cowboys.
chance they win the
But
Super Bowl, right?
Tommy, this goes back to what I said initially, okay? And I tried to make it as simple as possible. And I asked you a closed-ended question. And that is basically, I
And
just
what's
want
your
to hear
question?
yes and no. I said, if you took Purdy and put him on Dallas, would he lead that team to the Super Bowl? Would he make
Absolutely.
that team? And that's
Absolutely.
where I disagree with you. So right
Absolutely.
now, you're saying
You
Brock
don't
Purdy
see
is
what
the
Purdy has
reason
done.
why
Have you
you're
seen
saying
have y'all seen
Brock
the
Purdy
passes
is
that
the
he makes?
reason why
I don't
the
think y'all see the passes
49ers
he
are.
makes. I don't think y'all see that. I don't think y'all seen The passes he makes.
I've watched Brock. Don't go there. Don't go there, Tommy, with me, because the bottom line is I've watched Brock Purdy since he was a freshman at Iowa State.
Yeah.
I've watched this man.
I ain't talking about Iowa State.
No. Because you you're questioning my ability to watch and see the game.
What I've seen. I know.
No, Dak was better in college than Brock. Dak was better in college than Brock.
That's your opinion, and I respect your opinion. But what you're saying, what you are doing right now, is trying to discredit my opinion.
One last question. Since y'all killing me about saying that Purdy's above.
No, you're
that's
walking
the point.
in circles, bro.
Tommy, I keep telling you, you're putting words in our mouth. You are putting.
Question.
Wait a minute, Tommy. All right, I'll give you a question. If you're gonna start an
organization, who you gonna do it with? You gonna do it with Dak or Purdy?
Dak.
Y'all don't say that comfortably. I don't.
No.
We said it quick. What are you talking about? We didn't even have to think about it.
All right, Tommy. Is there anything else that you?
We've been saying this.
Oh my gosh! I never said number one. Dak Prescott is. I'm sorry. Brock Purdy is a bum. I've never said that. He is a good quarterback. I always said that he should not have been drafted that late. I was surprised he was drafted as the last pick in his draft. I've always said that. I've watched this kid at Iowa State. He was a good quarterback. Did he need some refinement? Yes. Yes, I've said it, but don't put words in my mouth, Tommy. I never said he was a bum or any. I never alluded to that. Nothing to that fact. Nothing.
We're just saying, like, if you compare both of the teams, it's not even comparable.
This is why it's
the 49ers will win 9 out of 10 times going against the Cowboys with just the team. You can even put Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. They still win those games.
Yeah,
I truly believe that.
And I did it. I guess I started because I said if you put Dak on the 49ers.
No, it's a good discussion. It's just you can't talk with anybody that's going in circles and putting stuff in their mouth. Like it's an impossible argument.
That's the one thing with Tommy. I love you. You know that, bro. But you can't put words in my mouth. Number one, and ask NYG, ask Pat, ask Lou, ask my children. I am Captain Literal. When you say certain words, I am very specific about the words because words can be confusing. Can be very confusing. That's why I asked you about the word dominant. Cole, it's not connecting for you. You'll be the last one that I bring on. No, I'm not going to bring anyone else on. So you got to connect your camera and your mic holes for me to bring you on.
Hey Tommy, there's no need for that, bro. But if you want to go against my knowledge, bro, I have a YouTube channel, film studies and everything, bro. Like there's no need to sit there and insult somebody's intelligence about football because obviously you were talking in circles, man. And
Tommy,
words
personally,
in my mouth. That's disrespectful, bro.
I felt you were talking in circles, Tommy. All right, because initially my point was about Dak Prescott. My initial statement was if you pulled them off of the Cowboys, what direction are they going? All right, Tommy. No, Tommy, just step away, please. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be disrespecting anyone, Tommy. I don't go for that. I don't. All right. I don't go for that, Tommy. No, bro. I'm sorry. I never wanted to do this. Never. I never would want to do this. I never want to ban people. I give you the freedom to speak, to come on here, but to be disrespectful, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And that goes for anyone.
Yeah, I
apologize to everyone else, for that. I never want. This is why sometimes I don't like bringing people up because it'll go to the left. It goes to the left, and we can't have a civil conversation. And that's what this
question is, just to clarify what you're talking about, bro. But you can't when you're in a debate, you can't say, okay, Coke is brown. I drink Coca-Cola is brown, but no, on a certain day it could turn green. Like, why is it green? Like, you can't. it's just you're just talking around the issue, man. Like we're just trying to understand where you're coming from.
No, I understand where he's coming from. I don't agree with it. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I personally don't agree. I don't agree that, that to discredit Dak Prescott to that magnitude. Like we said, first and foremost, Shanahan's system is about it's his system. Yeah. It benefits the quarterback. You want to talk about Jimmy G? Hey, he got there to the Super Bowl. Purdy, to say Purdy is the reason why the 49ers were winning. No, for me, I don't accept that. I don't agree with that.
No, it's a defensive game.
That's me. Now, if you want to say both defenses dominated, that's why I wanted clarification. As Coach brought up, 10 points. 10 points. That's a defensive game. I agree it was a defensive game. Both offenses were struggling.
Right.
But
wasn't it 23-22 at the end of the game or something like that? Like it was, it's a close game.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cole. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just tuning in, man. I mean,
no, I know you're the Cole. You're a Cowboys fan. So
no, I didn't even know what y'all were talking about.
My question was, if Dak Prescott leaves, if Dak Prescott were to leave the Cowboys, what type of impact would it have on the Cowboys? And that's where this all led to.
What impact would it have for the Cowboys if Dak was to leave?
Yeah, going into next year.
I would know. It wouldn't be good, man. Only because it'll be a lot of unknown. We don't know who will take over to be the quarterback because we always a middle of a pack type of team. Like we will always be with him. We will always be up there. So if we went to say for instance we go into this season with him, last season, and we go to the playoffs and lose, then we're picking like in 20 something. The next draft, what quarterback out there? What quarterback out there? I mean, people can say the popular thing, Shador. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Shador is not a bad quarterback, but that'd be the worst thing for the Cowboys to even have.
He's not there yet. Yeah, I agree with you, Coles. He's a good quarterback, but if you don't see that he's got his flaws and that he can lose you more games than he can win right now, like I'm a quarterback guy. I'm telling you, he's not.
It ain't even really
yet.
about that though. It's about the media. Oh, Dallas media will eat him alive. He can't even handle what's going on in Colorado.
He lose more games than Dak. Yeah, they'll definitely be up his ass.
Our fan base will expect him to do something that no quarterback hasn't done in 28 years.
Yep.
Year one. So I mean, it wouldn't be good for us, man. It'll be hard because it's hard to find a good quarterback, and that's what I'm trying to tell most of my fan base. Hey, say what you got to say about Dak. If Dak went to another team, he wouldn't get half of the criticism that he gets with the Cowboys.
So Cole's
that's where it went to, because like I brought up, if he went to the 49ers,
there you go.
Yep. He'll win.
They would have won the Super Bowl, right?
Purdy. I said he's better than Trevor Lawrence. And I said he's better than Kirk Cousins.
And this comes from the Eagle, and I'm a Giants fan.
Cowboys.
And I ain't got no dog in the fight. I'm neutral. So
like I like what Brock Purdy done. I like what the 49ers, but 49ers is like a plug and play type of team. Like they can take that. You don't have to have an elite quarterback to really be, you don't need an elite quarterback for the 49ers. They can basically handle it.
You just got to have a quarterback that has an arm.
Yes, an arm that can control the ball. That's really it.
Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
Nah, I was going to say real quick, Cole's like, on the other side of that, what we were trying to say is like Kyle Shanahan's offense is very friendly to quarterbacks because they had Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl, and they went to 3 NFC Championship games and 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. That's not a coincidence.
Matt Ryan went to a Super Bowl in his system.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Ryan a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He was a good quarterback. But come on now.
I mean, nobody ever went against Matt Ryan and said, "Oh, we about to get completely shut down by this guy."
Right.
You always said Julio Jones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you put Kyle Shanahan with a quarterback that can manage and some weapons, and that's all he needs. That's all he needs to be successful. So yeah, I mean the hype with Brock Purdy, hey, it's good. He did what he had to do, but don't be saying that he a better quarterback than Dak. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't. He's not talented. He's not as talented as Dak.
Well, we tried to go down the list of things too, because I like to paint the full picture, and so does everybody up here. Like, think about what Dax had to deal with. Tony Pollard didn't work out the way you thought that he was going to, so you automatically cross that out. Old offensive line, Zach Martin hasn't been the healthiest, and he's not there no more. You cross that out. Yeah, you had Michael Gallup there, who wasn't consistent because of his injuries. Brandon Cooks was okay, but you can't say that he was a legitimate number 2 at this point in time. So CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. That was it.
Jake Ferguson. I get Jake Ferguson.
Yeah. So now let's go to the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, great offensive line, and that's what our point was. It's like, dude, you're trying to argue that with a better head coach, you put Dak into that system of what he's been doing, and he was in regards as in the conversation for MVP last year. Like, dude, you can't say that with his veteran leadership that he's already got that it doesn't surpass what Brock Purdy has done right now, especially getting a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I hate to see him go elsewhere, but I think
it'll be a downfall for you guys for at least a year.
But I think coming from the reports that's been going on today, they trying to get a deal done. So it might be close.
It makes sense. I mean,
they got backed into a wall with the contract last night with Jordan Love.
Yeah, and you are Jordan Love, and you will look at Tua. Yeah, so and again, it's been said with Jerry Jones, if you keep waiting, the price is going to keep going up. You know, and then that's
Love getting 58, and is that what he's getting now?
They Jordan Love 55.
Yeah, 55. Tua got what 220 over 4. Yeah. So that's
Jordan is the highest paid. Then it's Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow are tied second.
No, Jordan's getting 53 because he's 212 over 4, and Tua's 220. So Tua's getting 55.
No, Jordan making more than Tua.
Yeah, he's the number 1 guy right now.
Tua's getting 212?
He's
total?
number 4, I think, overall. Yeah, Tua's like the 4th highest paid right now.
Wait a minute. How much Jordan got? 212, right? Over 4 years.
Jordan.
Jordan got
220 in 4 years.
220. Tua got 220. Divide that by 4. That's 55.
There's signing bonuses too, because he's getting his signing bonus up front, so you got to factor that in. That made him the highest paid.
Okay. So I didn't hear that. I just heard the bottom dollar.
Yeah, because Trevor Lawrence got paid 55, but that was with his signing bonus. The same with Jordan. Joe Burrow. So they were tied first, and then Jordan Love came in, got 4 years, 220, but his signing bonus made him the highest paid. And Tua was in 4th. Yeah.
That's going to be right, and because he told me that he's going to get like 58, so you're looking at 58, 57 million for Dak.
So right now, Dak, the reports are originally was 60. If you get him 50,
he aiming for 60
on this because he said.
But I was like, I wouldn't be mad if he got 58.
I think he'll be right under Tua.
Yeah, he's gonna be under.
He'll be top 5, and he'll be right under Tua.
I think they got it down for the money. It's just the years that they working on the terms. That is for both CD and Dak. Like they want to have shorter years, like maybe like a 4-year, so they can. Well, CD for sure, he want to have another bite of that apple, so he want a 4-year deal. So they're basically going back and forth as far as the years. They already know the number is what it is between him and Justin Jefferson. They got that figured out. They just trying to get it.
Right. All right.
Yeah, but Jerry and Steven, they just
Hold on 1 second. I know you got to leave, Coach. So I appreciate you being here. This long, man. Rocking with us. Great stuff, man. This was a great show. Great. I mean, your contribution has been great. I mean, I'm still going to keep going because I got a couple more topics to hammer out. But
sure, man.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. And again, man, for everyone, let everyone know where they can, find you at so they can subscribe to you.
Yeah, man. East Coast Gridiron. If you go to Google, just type it in. We're everywhere. So if you don't watch us on
Google
YouTube,
me. He threw a Google me
hey,
out there.
I tested it out. That's why I tell everybody. I'm like, hey, if you forget to search on YouTube, just Google it on. And all of our stuff pops up. Like we're on the.
Yeah.
In the algorithm.
Yeah, man, we're in the algorithm. So yeah, we should pop up right there on the top. So
Anybody who has high school kids who want their film dissected, broken down, and an unbiased opinion, definitely reach out to him. He definitely will help your kids, and he doesn't charge you. He's not like a lot of other people who are charging kids out there. He wants
it's
to
first
see
come,
these
first
kids.
serve with me. I don't care. You don't throw no money. Just whoever reaches out. I think I got about 4 more guys to do. I had a couple other guys reach out to me from college. I actually had a couple coaches reach out too. So me being I'm technically a scout now. So I got some like scouting connections with like Missouri and other teams too that I tried to get these kids over to. There's one guy that was from my area that I definitely shot over to a couple people. I'm like, he's a D1 kid. He's got to put on some size, but like his skill set is like Edgerrin Cooper to me from Texas A&M. So, but yeah, feel free to send them over. I'll add them to the list. It's first come, first serve. They take a minute to do, but I think those kids deserve that. They deserve a really good look at, a different perspective. And, they got the balls enough to send me their stuff, man. That's, they should get the best that I can give them too. So, I appreciate when they do reach out. So I don't want them to feel pressured. I want them to get the best that they can get at the next level. Their coaches are only going to teach them one thing, but it's like I always tell people, like when I was in the MMA world, when I was, coaching, go to another coach, get another opinion. Might not always be the best. There's always other people out there, and do your due diligence. So, but yeah, send them my way. I'll make sure I get them taken care of at no charge for sure.
All right, Coach. Again, thank you for being here. Look forward to talking to you later. We definitely will talk. And
oh yeah, for sure. Halftime, right. Good talking to you again, man. Cole's good to see you, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I just came over here to give halftime a hard time,
man.
Nah. All right. All good. Right, tell Tony, tell Tommy to slow down, man. It's okay. Life ain't that difficult.
Nah, he's gonna be heated with me because I just banned him. So
that's all good. Hey, everybody have a good rest of your weekend, man.
You too, man.
Have a good one.
See you.
Anybody knows me knows that's not how I am. I don't like banning anybody, but when you start getting personal and going to the extremes, I can't. I just can't. This is. I've already dealt with other situations, and I don't want to go to. I've started going to the extreme, and I've had to pull myself back. So, and I'm not going to tolerate that here. Not on this show, man.
Yes.
Halftime and I work too hard to, bring something that we believe in and we really enjoy, and all of you seem to really be supporting and enjoying, and I'm not going to let someone ruin it, man. But again, we're going to continue on with the show. And I'm sorry, Tommy, my man Tommy got too far into his own bag, did it to himself. I know I'm going to deal with him later on the other Giants stuff. So, and I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But getting back to the football subjects, we just talked about the Cowboys, and I'm going to dive into the training camps for all the teams. So halftime, what's going on with your Eagles right now since you guys have just started out?
Man, Jalen Hurts is freaking right now is doing good, and it looks they look good. It's it's training camp. They're not going all out. They're not doing nothing crazy. Vic Fangio and them have the Eagles practicing more than they normally do. Normally, how it was like a practice, a walkthrough, and then the next day was what you call it? Well, now it's practice, walk through, practice, and then practice. Then they're doing more practicing because, hey, you know how it is, Coach. They got to learn a new playbook, offense and defense. So
Mm-hmm.
they're looking good. It's going good, but it's wait and see. Wait and find out. This is what it all adds up to. Not a lot of
Exactly.
people are getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no warning yet, so hopefully
Okay.
they stay
And
healthy.
what about you,
Every
Cole?
team
Since
got to stay healthy.
exactly. What about you, Coles, with your Cowboys? How's it going there in Cowboy land?
Oh yeah, man, it's going good, man. Besides the contract talks, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to see a lot of our young guys kind of step up. Offensively, I like to see our young receivers. We got Jalen Tolbert that's coming out the fold, fighting for that number 3 spot. But we also got another guy named Jalen Brooks that's been in our practice squad. He shows out a lot in the off season. I mean, not off season, training camp. He's like one of those training camp warriors. Then whenever it comes to the season, we kind of not see him. So it's between both of the Jalen's. Jalen Tolbert, that he's already been seeing the field and stuff like that, and Jalen Brooks. But they both been going great. We also got a free agent, Tyron Billy Johnson, good receiver. He's been making some great catches. He's a journeyman I think he came from the Chargers as well. That was his last team, so he's doing good. Dak is looking great on the field. Trey Lance, I don't know, man. Trey Lance been looking kind of rough. We actually just signed a quarterback from the Bengals practice squad today.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's his name? Reed Sennett. I guess that's that quarterback that took over the Bengals. They had like a nice little run with him. I'm not sure. I think that's him. But
ain't that the one that was when Joe Burrow was out for the year? He got a knee injury.
Yep, and he took over. So
he went to
we adding a little spice to the quarterback, for the to the number 2 spot. So
does that mean you got quarterback issues?
Was that Jake Browning? Okay, I don't know. I haven't really paid attention. That actually, that's my fault. No, not Jake Browning. This dude's name's Reed Sennett, so I don't know nothing about him. I just know he was on the Bengals practice squad. But my bad. Thank you, Victor. It was Jake Browning that took over. That's not who I'm talking about. So so he just got added on today, so that's interesting. That says a lot about Trey Lance right now. It's crazy because we gave up a 4th round pick for him. But defensively, Micah, he's moved to all-ball linebacker. Something that we've been wanting for a while, so he's just not used for a chess piece. He's actually used to, kind of be moved around as a linebacker. So that's something I like to see with him. Deron Bland picked up. He been getting interceptions in camp. So everything's good. Everything's good besides the we still don't have no running backs. That's an issue. But, other than that, I mean, Zeke is
Zeke. Come on, what's wrong with
Zeke? Is Zeke, but we still got a weak running back. But that's all that's been going on in Cowboys.
Well, in Giants land, we just overcame a big scare where Jermaine Illuminor, one of the offensive linemen who was brought in, actually got run into by Big Dexter. Dexter caught him in the ribs with an elbow, and basically he was out just sore ribs. Had the wind knocked out of him, but it looked pretty bad. They originally had brought the cart out, and he was like, no, he just walked off the field into the locker room. So, but he came back out. I think he was back out yesterday. And he was practicing yesterday. They wanted to sit him out, but he said no, he wanted to get his reps in. So, that's a good thing. He said, that was just like getting hit by Dexter's like getting hit by a Mack truck, which I agree. Most of us will probably say the same thing. You're not going to want Dexter to hit you. That's a big, strong ass man. So, there's concerns with, some of the fan bases. Daniel Jones overthrew some deep passes. But for me, that's you got to work on the timing. And he hasn't had any OTAs or minicamp So this is his first real live action of this. And you're talking about 3-4 days. So he has to get timing down with his wide receivers. And, if he overthrew 3 deep passes, but he connected on 1 or 2 other ones. So, my thought is just, look, got to settle down, but again, Daniel Jones is one of those, is that player that that divides this fan base. He divides this fan base and a lot of the media out there. So, but everything is still a work in progress, with this team getting this offensive line. Evan Neal started out on the pup. So, and I've been a big proponent of Evan Neal. I see the talent there. But one of my concerns was, if he starts on pup, then I can't really defend him as strongly as I want to. But I do get the feeling that, they're just taking this as a precautionary measure and that he is the starting right tackle. So we'll see how things go from there. But, right now, the whole thing with the Giants is going to be the offensive line and Daniel Jones. And Coles, we're kind of like you. Yeah, you have players at the position of running back, but, until you see the run game, you question it. And it's also the scheme. I think offensively, Dable wants to pass a lot more than what he has in the past. Which, okay, I get, but my concern is what are you going to do in 3rd and short? Because we struggled with that last year. 3rd and 1, and you come out and you go empty, putting even Saquon Barkley out as a wide receiver. Where is run? But you know what? If you can't trust your offensive line, I get it. But I still think you should line up and try and do different things. Whether you go to a wedge block, double team at the point of attack. You can run a little bit of power. There's different things you can do to try and get a push in a short yardage situation. So defensively, it's still a work in progress. In terms of the talent. I do see talent there. I'm sorry, in the defensive backfield, but I also get where there is some concerns. It's a young group. With the CB2, the slot cornerback. But if everybody plays and you don't run into any injuries, that's the biggest thing. I have confidence in this team that, they should be able to go out there and be competitive, with the teams in the division as well as across the board. It's not going to be like game 1 last year where it's a 40-0 shellacking. That's not good for football. And, as a Giants fan, that's not good for us as a whole. So still a work in progress, but I'm hoping what I'm thinking comes to fruition as far as ultimately with this season. So, that's what I have in terms of the Giants camp right now. So I'm going to move on to the next talk, which is holdouts, player trade requests. The biggest one is Brandon Ayuk. And, if he's traded, where's the best location? Now, I'm going to start with you, Coles. What's your thoughts on him holding out, and where would be the best location for him?
Oh, well, I would say the Commanders would be a good one. I think that's what he probably prefer because of his relationship with Jaden Daniels. So Commanders is an easy one. But I would also like to see him with the Patriots as well because they don't have any receivers. I think he'll be more known as that number 1 guy. I think that's what he want his stock to be is wide receiver 1. He'll be paired up with a good quarterback in Drake May. I believe Drake May will have a good career starting off with a receiver like him. So I could definitely see him also with the Patriots.
Okay, and what about you, Halftime? What's your thoughts on Ayuk's situation, and where do you think is the best spot for him if he was to get traded?
Well, my first 2 were what Coles was saying, Washington and the Patriots. But I have a 3rd one that's probably nobody's really looking at. I think the Colts would be a good fit for him because they need one. They got that young quarterback, and he's just getting off an injury. But if he has a wide receiver like him, I think the Colts would be a lot better. But going just to switch up and not say exactly what Cole said, I would go with the Colts.
Okay. That's an interesting one. I never thought about the Colts in that regard.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yeah, that would be good, in that regard. So, and I agree with with what you said, Cole, in terms of the Patriots and not the Redskins. Sorry, the Commanders. I know.
They want to change their name back to the Redskins, Coach.
I hope they do, man, because it's just easy for me. That's what I grew up on.
It's just
but
easy.
I get it. I mean, who am I? They're not going to do it just because I want it. But yeah, I could see those teams. And I'm sitting here, going through the list in my head, and I'm just like, they're not going to trade within their division. So, and what about Pittsburgh? Do you think it would be a good fit in Pittsburgh?
It'd be a good fit in Pittsburgh, but
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh really don't make that many moves, and they made a lot of moves this year.
Yeah, that's true. They don't. They'd rather trade out because they're not going to want to pay that much money too. You got a good point. I was just thinking, you know what? If you line him up with Russell Wilson, that gives them a better pairing, and it really would help their offense. And then, because I've heard about trading Najee Harris, but if you have Najee Harris, and he can open up the run game, and we already know Pittsburgh has a good defense, so Pittsburgh does not have a wide receiver too. So no, he would be number one.
He'd be a number one.
He's a number one. So,
but don't get me wrong. If Pittsburgh went and got him, he'd be dangerous over there.
How about?
I gotta jump off.
No problem, bro. I appreciate you,
man. I gotta keep it from time to time. We gotta link up, man.
Definitely. We'll talk later, man.
All right, now.
All right. Here's another one, halftime, that I'm thinking about right now. Just came to my head. Since you might not be able to afford it, but maybe. What about Green Bay?
Oh, that's a good one, Coach. Green Bay can afford it.
They have young receivers.
Yeah, that would be a good fit too.
And you just gave Love all that money, so you definitely want to have that dog of a receiver. So I mean, those are some
The Jets can't afford it, right?
No, the Jet. No, I mean,
they don't have enough. They don't have enough.
You have Wilson already there. He's your number one. So it doesn't make sense.
Have enough to trade for him anyway, right?
Who, the Jets?
They don't have enough trade bait.
I don't know what the Jets have in there. I mean, what is it if they're asking for a first rounder? If you feel that well, I mean, the Jets were talking about Devontae Adams, so I mean, yeah. Now that I think about it, it makes sense. And but then again, do you have the money to pay him also? Because what is Aaron Rodgers getting? I mean, I think he's what, $40-50 million.
Something like that. He took a pay cut.
So,
then you got a little pay cut, but he took a pay cut.
So I mean, it might be possible. It might be possible. So that's something that definitely can look at later, or I'll do some research on that and look at their salary caps and see what can be worked out. So, but that's one of the things I wanted to touch on. Recently you had Matt Stafford and Amari Cooper restructure their contracts to help their team. So that could definitely help them in the long run. Victor says, I think the Broncos fire you. Okay, I can see that. That could help them out.
They need a lot of help. The Broncos need a lot of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and plus you have Bo Nix over there, so he could definitely have that number one wide receiver. I mean, that's the thing that you should try and do with young quarterbacks is give them a dog of a wide receiver. As a Giants fan, we went through that with Daniel Jones. before you finally got someone for him. So, so that's a good one. I like that one there. So, but again,
that's actually perfect right there. The Broncos. I wasn't even thinking about the Broncos.
No. So I wasn't looking for that either. So, but I do like the thoughts of the Rams restructuring Stafford and Amari Cooper with Cleveland. Gives them a little bit of flexibility with what they can do with their team. So I'm going to be watching that as I go as the things go forward. So now I think next week we have the is it next week? No. In 3 weeks. No, yes, next week.
Next week.
You have the Hall of Fame game, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you excited about that?
I'm ready for football, Coach. I'm ready for football. I mean, come on. There's only baseball. You know what I mean? Baseball is a long time, but I want the hitting, hard hitting. I'm more of a football guy, but I love all my sports. But I am ready for some action.
Exactly.
I want my little bit of violence.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you with that. So I'm ready for some football. So, but next thing I just want to touch on is preseason NFL power rankings. I was looking at the Athletic, and I saw their power rankings, and I was like, it makes sense. So, who do you think was the worst team in their power rankings?
And power rankings?
Yeah, their preseason power rankings for the Athletic.
I didn't even see that. So what was it?
Yeah, this just came out. When did I think this came out?
I didn't get to see that power ranking.
Yeah, it's in the Athletic. This came out the 23rd, so about 4 days ago.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it.
Well, I'll go there. Who they had as the worst is the Carolina Panthers. Which
okay,
yeah,
I agree with that.
It's Denver, New England at 29, my Giants at 28, Washington at 26.
You got to put the Giants up higher.
This is according to the Athletic. So they have the Giants they feel they're going to be 28. In their reading, it says Giants fans should keep October 19 clear for their calendar. That's when the Georgia Bulldogs will be playing the Texas Longhorns, and the chances are at least fair the Giants' next quarterback will be on the field. With Georgia's Carson Beck, Texas Quinn Ewers, and Colorado's Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback draft class should have plenty of options. Of course, maybe Daniel Jones with his contract will be the answer. Blah blah blah. They're going into Daniel Jones, but that's what they're saying in terms of the Giants. 27, they have the Commanders. 26, the Raiders. 25, the Saints. 24, the Titans. 23, the Vikings. 22, Tampa Bay. 21, Jacksonville. 20, the Steelers. 19, the Seahawks. 18, the Indianapolis Colts. 17, the Falcons. 16, the LA Chargers. 15, the Chicago Bears. 14, the Cincinnati Bengals. 13, the New York Jets. 12, the Miami Dolphins. 11, the Los Angeles Rams. 10, your Philadelphia Eagles. 9, the Buffalo Bills. 8, the Green Bay Packers. 7, the Dallas Cowboys. 6, Cleveland. 5, Baltimore Ravens. 4, Houston Texans. 3, Detroit Lions. 2, San Francisco. And number 1, Kansas City. So that's their preseason power rankings right now. So you talked about the Giants. Anyone else catch your eye that surprised you?
The Washington Redskins, I think, should have been up there higher. I think the Giants should have been up there higher.
Okay.
To be honest, just because we those teams did in the off season, you made your team better. It ain't like you made your team worse. So I don't know why you guys are lower than that. But I mean, They don't think you guys are going to do it. I get it.
No, exactly. Everyone's concerned about two things: the offensive line, what's going to happen there, and Daniel Jones. That's really what it boils down to. If Daniel Jones is flopping, then as the article was alluding to, we're going to be drafting a quarterback. And based on the other teams that were there, because if you look at it, let me pull that back up. Hold a minute. Because if I look at it right now, Carolina, they have their quarterback. Denver, they just drafted a quarterback. Arizona has Kyler Murray, and he's locked into his money. Patriots just drafted a quarterback, which goes to the Giants. Washington has their quarterback, and then the Raiders. And then maybe the Saints. So out of those three teams right there on the bottom spectrum, that's where their thought comes into play, which I understand it. I'm just hoping, as a Giants fan, I want us to play better.
I understand it, but I don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, all right, for the Rams, I think the Rams are too high. You just lost freaking Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
He retired. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a big blow for them.
It says the Rams won 7 of 8 to end the regular season and dropped a 1-point loss to Lions in the playoffs. In the offseason, they remade their secondary and fortified their offensive line. And just like that, 38-year-old McVay is back in the fray. He's entering his 8th season already in the top 100 of all-time coaching wins with 70. Plus 2 years ago, he coached a 5-win team, and the media job offers were piling up. Now he's coaching a contender again. So,
and where did they have the Chargers?
The Chargers, I think they had 16. The Chargers were Cincinnati's 14. Chicago's 50. Yeah, the Chargers were 16.
And I think the Chargers should go down more. What are you going to just say? Because Jim Harbaugh's there?
Yeah, and that's the thought. That's the thought. They believe in the quarterback.
You're just going to tell me the coach is going to fix it all.
Some people feel that way.
Come on, you have to be with actually reality too.
Well, here's the question. The question really is, do you believe in the quarterback? Because if you believe in the quarterback, then he has the offensive weapons. They just rebuilt their offensive line. So, and then, the question then becomes defensively. But as far as Harbaugh, everywhere he's gone, I don't like the man, but everywhere he's going, San Diego, Stanford, the 49ers, Michigan, he's won. Right. He's won. There's always that. So it's hard not to understand. So I guess that's why they put them, because technically they're in the middle of the pack. They're in the middle of the league. So, I
would have put them lower just because of your new coach, got a new scheme. New defensive coach, new scheme. Hey, I understand why they have the Eagles where they have them. You know what I mean? New coach, new schemes. New offensive coach, new defensive coach. You're going to go down. You have to. I mean, the only reason why they're so high is because we have players. We still have a great offensive line. We now have a great running back. Now we still have 2 wide receivers that get over 1,000 yards last year. You know what I mean? I get all that. And I do think people should drop because of coaching too. You know what I mean? Because you don't know what that coach is going to do. And I got you. Jim Harbaugh was a good coach.
But he's been in the NFL, and he did take the 49ers to the Super Bowl, and he would have won. You can make certain arguments.
It wasn't a blackout.
It wasn't the blackout. So, I mean, I get it.
How is it Fog Bowl? We can't wait until the fog lifts. They'll go, and all of a sudden there's a blackout. Oh, we can't play football. What happened to that, coach?
Times have changed. That's all I can say to you, Philly. Halftime. Times have changed. So I remember that fly bowl against Chicago. I remember that game. You could not see watching the game on TV. I could
see your hand. You watched the game on TV. You did not see nobody, and you're
exactly.
like, "What the hell are they doing?"
Exactly. So, are you streaming the Phillies game today?
Yes.
What time is their game?
6.
Oh, so we better.
Yeah,
we
we gotta call it soon.
Yeah, I wanted to get into. Well, we're not going to get into my little personal because I got to talk about baseball and the big trade that just happened while we have been on. So
I didn't think we were going to be on for 4 hours.
No, I didn't either. So and that last situation just really. Whew. So but
he went left.
Yeah,
I don't know where he was going with it, but he went left.
Yeah, exactly. So, bottom line is let's just talk about that because what I wanted to talk about was the Yankees getting swept by the Mets and already losing to the Red Sox, but now they just got that trade, and it says that they traded 3 minor league players for him. Let me just pull it back up. Where is it? I just had it. Yeah, here it is. Oh no, that's just this. Yeah, that one was no, I can't do that one. That was a video. I don't know who that is. All right, here's one in the Athletic. Yeah, they get Jazz Chisholm from the Marlins for prospects. They're sending AAA catcher Augustine Ramirez, and they're sending 2 more prospects to Miami. I guess they didn't talk about who it is as yet, but looks like Ramirez, who's playing at double A Somerset. He's hit 290. He's 22 years old. He has serious power, but he's questionable defensively. He hits 290 with 16 home runs in 58 games at Somerset before going to 224 with 4 home runs in 29 games in AAA. And he's also going to be used as a DH and a first baseman. So, I mean, as a Yankees fan, I mean, I'm not too familiar. I mean, I've heard some good things about him. So, but it sounds like this is what they needed. He can add a bat, which is adding some protection. The process of adding them started when they traded with Marlins for. Yeah, this guy played. Oh, he plays second base too in center field. Oh, okay. And Chisholm, he's 26. He was hitting 249 with 13 home runs, 50 RBIs, a 730 OPS through 386 at bats. So I guess they're going to fit him in. Victor has the Yankees get Chisholm, they get Augustine, infielder Jarrett Serena, and infield outfielder Abraham Ramirez. So, I guess you're just giving up low risk players in a sense for this guy. So,
it's a good. I think it's a good move for you.
Well, I'm more worried about pitching because, especially in our bullpen, that's where I was, was more concerned with because, especially like last night, we went up on Boston, and it just seems like the same thing. We're blowing leads late in the game, so that's the thing that concerns me with the Yankees more than anything. I would love to get Robert Jr., but I hear the Sox wanting arm and a leg to get Green. So I don't know who he's referring to. Is that for you guys, for Philly, or for the Yankees? Mike O'Neill. But what about you guys? What do you guys need? Because we were talking off, how you guys
We need the same thing you need: pitching.
pitching.
We need a closer. We
Mm-hmm.
need pitching. What you call it? Just went on a 15 hour Ranger Suarez. Just
He
now.
did?
Just now.
Wow.
He's been hurt. And they're like, he's trying to play through it, and he can't. And you see it. And Rob's like, oh, just leave him in. And he won't pull him. So, yeah, we just lost Ranger Suarez for, I guess he's going to be down for 15. Maybe more. Maybe more, Coach. He really did saw a number on his back.
Wow.
So we need pitching just like you guys.
That's deep, man. That's seriously deep. So
that hurt us bad.
Wow. Well, it's going to get interesting right now because the whatchamacallit is what? The trade deadline is what, Tuesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Okay.
I think it's Tuesday.
Okay.
I think you're right on that. I think it's Tuesday. Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, the bottom line is going to be this week, so we'll see what's going to happen, with a lot of these teams. So I guess we'll be finding out from there what's going to happen. So, but yeah, we're going to cut it short now. Been on for a long time.
4 hours.
Yeah. All right, so he's with the Phillies. So yeah, you need a closer and a solid center fielder. So, so there you go. So, but yeah, we've been on, 3.5. Going almost to 4 hours. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for tapping in. Again, I apologize to everyone about what happened earlier. But thanks again for everyone for tuning in. It's been an interesting one. Shout out to Coach Dante. Great insight, great contribution today.
Coach Dante, that was a good one.
Yeah, so outside of the Tommy situation, but I will say this: sorry, ladies and gentlemen, never going to do it again. I'm not going to bring anyone else up ever again. Sorry, not in this situation. So I'm not trying to ruin what we have going on here. And I trusted Tommy. We usually are cool, but hey, it is what it is. You live and learn, and that's what I'm doing. I'm living learning. So, but again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it. What you got going on for the rest of the week, Phil?
I got the Phillies game today. I got the Phillies game tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
During the week, I never know what I'm doing because of work. So if I can do a Phillies game, I'm going to do it. But I think I'm going to stream the Hall of Fame game when it comes up. I think I'm going to do more football.
Okay. Got you.
On the hardcore sports side, I only do Eagles on my side. But I think for the hardcore sports, I might just do some of the, just to watch football and chill out.
Got you.
So I think that's what I'm going to start doing.
Well, me, I'm pretty much on every day on something, whether it's the halftime coaching adjustment, Giants conversation, my Reading Attack Sports live show live, the Heart of the City, Pick and Roll, Full Court Press. I'm on here every day, and I might be adding on another, so we'll see how it goes. So, but that's pretty much it. So I want to thank everyone again for being tapped in today. So with that being said, everyone, you have a great day. And like I always say in sports, make sure y'all turn it on and turn it up. Everyone have a great night.
Have a good one. Catch you on a rebound.